Oh, you look handsome, Adam, handsome.
June 9th at 2 o'clock. I got my first haircut in 3 months. I'm very excited about it.
You're not getting any more feedback from the TV, are you?
Just barely.
Okay.
I lost my full screen though.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there we go. Oh, there's Chris. Okay, we're streaming on YouTube. Let me hit record. Okay, we're all set to start. So we'll call the meeting to order. Does the board want to do the pledge to the flag, or does one person want to lead it? Because it's with all of us, it does not work well. So if somebody wants to lead it, Adam, you don't have your flag behind you today, do you?
I was just thinking it's out on the front of the house right now. Still lead the pledge if you guys like.
I'll tell you what. Here, we'll turn toward mine.
All right.
And I'll let you lead it.
All right, you guys ready? Here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you very much. Hopefully I had it in the picture.
You did. Look good.
Kate, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilwoman Anawan,
Here.
Councilwoman Hagen DePew,
Here.
Councilman Hewitt,
Here.
Councilman Paddock,
Here.
Supervisor Baden.
Here. Okay. Kate, did you receive any public comments today? Or
No.
so far? Okay. Mary Lou is not here. Well, we will skip her attorney for the town report for the moment. Supervisor's report. It was filed with the town clerk. Let me get my, apologize, I'm a little behind here today. Let me get my screen share up. Okay. So I've confirmed with the town's council that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the governor's March 13, 2020 executive order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the open meetings law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing in accordance with the executive order. The public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's meeting via YouTube, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. The town clerk has completed a roll call of the board members, and there's a quorum present for this meeting. I've also confirmed with the town clerk that this meeting has been duly noticed. We fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting the notice on the town clerk bulletin board and outside door, posting legal notice in the Shangam Journal, and posting notice on the town's website. So now continuing with the supervisor's report, apologies. It was May 2020 was filed with the town clerk. The receipts received from the town clerk's office for the month of May, $40,888.45. Announcement of payments at our May abstract 5 is general fund $68,970.75. Highway fund $53,678.29. Street lighting fund, $401.39, and grant fund, $1,170.63. Kate, do you have anything to report as the tax collector?
Yeah, for the month of May, we collected 455,488.82. Of that, 437,982.05 was the base amount. We collected 17,287 in penalty. We officially stopped accepting payments on June 1st. So we are still waiting on a few payments to come through the mail because we honor June 1st postmark. But as of today, we've collected 6,541,528.76. The amount currently to be turned over to Department of Finance would be $923,843.83, which is pretty consistent with years past.
Okay. And all the fire districts and the town were paid in whole. So the remaining money is
It's counties.
it's county money.
Yeah.
Thank you. Supervisor's update and correspondence report. I wanted to go over a little bit the COVID-19 situation. As you know, the Project Resilience, as we knew it under phase 1, ended in May. The people that were being served are now being served through various other departments, either the Department of the Aging, through local food pantries. It was transitioned away. It essentially was very popular, and they were running short on funding. And but we did run it for quite a period of time. I believe at least 6 weeks, maybe 7. Many of you may have seen the governor's executive order yesterday that has moved restaurants for outside seating from phase 3 into phase 2. I will tell you, there was a lot of lobbying efforts put forth by quite a few people, myself included, to the governor's office to get this achieved. We only have a couple restaurants in Rochester, but I know in Kerhonkson there are some, in Marbletown there are some, and they serve this area. They will be allowed now to open on phase 2, which as of right now is scheduled to start June 9th. We still have to have maintained the proper numbers to have that day happen, but it does appear that we are on track for that. So June 9th would be the beginning of phase 2, which would also allow, there's a whole host of other things that begin in phase 2, including haircuts. There is our lengthy list of what various businesses have to do to be able to open, and they have to have a plan. The plan does not need to be filed, I believe, but it does need to be a written plan in place that they maintain as to how they will address the various issues to be able to continue the social distancing and the New York pause. All that being said, we're working, the county economic development and Department of Planning and all the town supervisors are working through this process of how to get these stores and primarily eating and drinking establishments open. The State Liquor Authority has done a number of relaxed interim agreements to allow the alcohol to be brought out onto the streets in front of the restaurant. They're not going to be able to take a carry out, I don't believe, but they would be able to, any different from what they're doing now where it has to be sealed. But they're able to sit, dine in front of a restaurant on either the sidewalk, or in some places the towns are working with the DOT, towns and villages, both are working with the DOT to potentially close down one lane of traffic and create seating out that way. In places like Ellenville, Saugerties, Kingston, they're working toward that, achieving that. So it's a big step, it's a big move. There's a lot of logistics to figure out, and I've been on a number of conference calls working toward all that. Shared work program, we have it up and running as of this week. We ended up with 6 employees who are in the shared work program. Excuse me. 5 of the 6 have been able to get signed up without any problem. One has a small issue, but we're working to resolve it in that they earn income through a family farm operation, and that income has to be categorized. And it's, as you can imagine, it's difficult to figure profit and loss on a family farm on a day-to-day basis. So we're working through with that. I'm working with that individual and with the state, and her accountant is helping solve the problem as well. And I didn't hear back from her today, so I'm thinking maybe she did have success in getting the phase 2 of the application in place, but I will confirm with her tomorrow whether she did or didn't. Selective insurance report. I sent you all a report from the insurance company. Jeff and I had a phone conference with a representative from Selective Insurance from the company directly, not from our broker, who asked us a number of questions about how we operate our buildings. You saw that there were, I believe, 6 recommendations, or not recommendations so much, but 6 things that they want us to achieve. I'm going to work toward getting them answers on some of those as soon as we get out of the pause and can open up the building. Like they wanted a roof inspection of the town hall. We can achieve that and get that done. Some of the others involve policies that they want to make sure we have. I'm going to get with Mike Richardson and see what of those policies is in, a number of them are probably included in our employee manual. We don't have a specific separate policy, and we'll answer those their requirements. They were very satisfied with our answers and found minimal issues in our insurance coverage. One thing I forgot to do last month, and I want to make sure I do it today. I'm officially, as of today, appointing Erin Anowen as the liaison to the transfer station. Currently, she's doing the recycling and composting, but she's sort of taken on more of the day-to-day liaison at the transfer station, and it's taken quite a bit of load off of my office. So thank you, Erin. I appreciate you doing that. Wanted to give everybody an update on the census 2020. As of yesterday, we are at a reporting rate in town of Rochester of about 47% of self-reporting. This is lower than 10 years ago, where we were at, I believe, 53% from the self-reporting stage. The census, excuse me, had planned on having workers out going to the people who hadn't answered already by now. That was scheduled to start, well, it was scheduled to start early June. That has all been delayed, obviously, because of the COVID. That will be starting up some point in July, I believe. I don't have the exact date, where they will do the phase 2, which is to go to the homes that did not return a census form, and we'll work with the individual to fill out the form. Having worked for the Census Department in 2010, I can tell you it's not as arduous as it sounds. You usually go there, you get the information from them, you fill it out, and you're done in 5 minutes. And many of them either forgot, or they just, it got fought, especially this year since they were mailed. Anybody with a PO box only didn't even get a form. So they're going to get a knock on the door because it had to be mailed to physical addresses only. That's really all I have. There were a number of other things in the correspondence update that we will, you see there's a letter from Dolly Wynn about cable coverage. We can talk more about that in the discussion items where I put Spectrum on the list. I did get a letter out to the Key Bank to have my name put on signature cards so we can close Justice Babcock's bank accounts. There is still amount of money in those accounts, but since Justice Babcock is no longer serving as of January 1, he is not eligible to sign for that, to remove that money. So took a while to get it straightened out, but my signature either is now or will be very soon on that account. And then we can close those accounts and transfer that money to Justice Laflamme. You'll see we received a very nice letter from the food pantry thanking us for their new building. And that was it for correspondence. Reports, I already gave you the town clerk's report. I emailed you the assessor's report, a real quick update from them. Grievance day was held Wednesday, May 27th. We used Zoom video conferencing. We had 4 appointments and a total of 35 applications were received. The board is meeting in early June to make their decisions on those applications. And Mike Dunham will provide us a list of the applications and the board's decisions next month after they complete their meeting. The 2020 equalization rate for the town for the 2020 assessment roll for town of Rochester will be 100%. That states that as of July 1, 2019, that on average, the 2020 assessments represent market value. We did trend assessments up slightly because the state had indicated they were going to give us a 92% equalization rate. So adjustments were made to the market values across the board of all properties to bring us up to the 100%. And Mike wanted to point out there's only 3 towns in Ulster County that are currently at 100%, and that is Rosendale, Rochester, and Marbletown. Conveniently, all 3 towns that he's the assessor for. He is continuing the data verification project that the town board adopted several years ago, and he reviews the parcels in the town every year. So starting June 1, he will do a review of all the parcels to make sure that the information is all accurate. And he's going to work on over the summer, which is traditionally the slower time for the assessor. He'll work on the data verification project, and he'll process backlog of real property transfers from the county. As you can imagine, with the COVID, information is slow getting to us for transfers of properties. So he is working towards solving that. And he has earned a fair amount of accumulated vacation time. So between June and Labor Day, his plan is to take his 4 hours a day that he works on Mondays off. So just letting the board members know, if you call on a Monday, Mike will not be in the office on Mondays during the summer. Building department, we received permit fees, $4,621.50 for the month. Certificate of occupancy and inspection fees, $920, for a total of $5,541.50. Not too bad considering what's going on. A little bit lower than usual, but not all that unusual. Very good to see that amount. From the planning and zoning office, we received $600 in planning fees for the month and $51.44 in other fees, which is public hearing fees and public hearing notice fees. We also received from the county our sales tax check. for January, February, March. That is pre-COVID, remember, pretty primarily. I know we started in mid-March, but that was $38,487.43. About normal for that January, February, March period. Obviously, the last 3 months of the last quarter is our greatest usually. And that's it. Well, we did receive actually public hearing notice from the planning board because it's on a project happening on Clay Hill Road that the courthouse is within 500 feet of. It's for a bed and breakfast on Clay Hill Road. And if you've driven by and see the very nice work that they've done there's a red building there now that used to be pretty much falling down. They've done a very nice job, and that will become a bed and breakfast. And that's all I have. Does anybody else have any department updates or liaison reports?
Yeah, Mike, I get a chance to talk to Ashley at length yesterday. I know as far as June 28th, the governor's allowed camps to be open. Ashley's asking us as a board to consider not opening our program, our summer program, for a number of reasons, citing first and foremost that we just don't feel that they have enough time to put it together. Two, that Marbletown, Schwanguk, and Rosendale are not putting their summer programs together, and we don't want to be the guinea pig. But again, I know we're allowed to, but they want to opt for virtual programs, things that can be emailed, or WebExes that can be done with the kids. But again, Ashley would say, ask us if we were considering opening the program, that she just doesn't feel it's in our best interest right now.
Yeah, you'll see I have in the discussion item of the agenda, the discussion about the summer program. So we can defer the conversation to them, but I appreciate you sharing her point of view. B, do you have anything?
Chad's done some beautiful work at the courthouse. He actually has the office room, if you will, for the clerks. He brought in a scrubber, put down new tiles, and that room is kind of ready. So I have some ideas to get things kind of moved around. I need Indians, not chiefs, because everybody has a different idea. So a couple of us are going to go in there, hopefully, and work very quietly and just accomplish some things. I'm hoping that comes to fruition at some point next week.
And there's Mary Lou. So Kate, if you want to mark down Mary Lou joined us at 6:55. Okay, and the court remains closed
Yes.
for the interim. The clerks are able to be back in there working. They are working currently half-time right now. The justices are able to go in and do work, and law enforcement officers are able to come in and file paperwork with us, but it's not open to the public. So that's where we stand for the moment, and I don't know that that's going to change anytime in the near future. Aaron, anything transportation or yep?
So the transfer station's starting to be really busy, and we've had a couple issues with too much garbage in our recycling. So Harry and I are working on a new signage system that will involve nice physical barriers with clear signs right where the bins are, and we're hoping that'll make a big impact. But I think we really need to do a better job spreading the word to people, like what can and cannot be recycled, what is and isn't recycling material. So we're gonna try out this new idea, and hopefully it'll really help. So
great, thank you. If I can make one observation, is the signs that the county or that the RRA provided to us are a lot of words, and I think they get lost on people. So
That's
pictures are probably are better than words.
That's actually why I told Harry I'd do a turnaround in a week, and it's been 2.5 weeks because I'm looking for graphics.
Understood.
And yeah, I want really, really good graphics. And when I have been to the transfer station talking to people, that's what they've said is, can you show me a picture of what I'm not supposed to be putting in here?
Right.
Because it's not, they see what they are allowed to, but then they want to interpret that into, because everyone's a wishful recycler. So.
Exactly. It always makes me sort of laugh a little, that term, wishful recycler, but it's true.
It is-
Aaron, I have a question for you.
yeah,
The brush pile, is the brush pile still as huge as it was? There's a couple questions coming at you here. Secondly, if it's big, when do we anticipate getting the stuff ground, and when would people be able to bring brush in again?
that's a good question. I can ask Harry.
Okay, because I know the vendor who usually does that, he probably won't be as busy, or maybe he will, I don't know. In June or July, I think the logging eases a bit, so I don't know if it's possible for him to grind what we
Well,
need.
we do a lot in-house too. It's only when it gets overwhelming that we bring him in. So,
Right.
yeah. Okay. Chris, anything for ECC?
Yes, I went to their meeting a week or two ago, and the main thing we discussed is the watershed park and when we can get together. I think Madeline reached out to you, Mike, afterwards just to see when the group can meet.
Yeah, we still can't actually have a group walkthrough there yet. I don't think. I defer to Mary Lou if we're less than 10 people, if we can, but I don't.
Yeah, as long as you're socially distant, I think you
Okay.
can.
So I'll get with Madeline. At the time when she asked me, I don't think we had that new designation yet, but now I believe a meeting can happen if it's less than 10 people, as long as everybody social distances. So.
Great. Yeah, I'd like to show them some of the highlights that Andrew and I pointed out. And when Andrew and I met, we stayed apart. We have masks.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when we meet, we'll just be cautious.
Yeah, and just to clarify, when Chris said he joined their meeting, that was through a Zoom meeting that they held a Zoom meeting, not a in-person meeting.
Well, it just feels like reality lately.
It does. It sure does.
Second nature.
Mary Lou, anything to report?
I have a little more, Mike.
No, I've been
I'm sorry.
busy,
Hang
but
on 1 minute. Chris had one more. Sorry.
We also discussed Michaela's project she's working on with Warsing, which is the 4455 intersection with 209, making it an entry to the town of Rochester with some info about turn right for Minnewaska. So they're looking at a really beautiful carving that mimics the mountain and uses native landscaping. And I suggested edibles because I've been working with some groups who are part of a movement to have municipalities always plant edibles so that we have resilience and food that the municipality is behind. So Michaela's drawings are beautiful, and I'm excited about that project.
And they're coordinating with the DOT on that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Close.
So for everybody's information, that's that triangle that sort of forms there. And I know it's in the town of Wawarsing, but it's a kind of a joint project between Wawarsing and Rochester to beautify that triangle and make it more attractive and to get some sort of signage in there. And that signage can help point people toward Rochester. And so that's why they're involved with the project. Kind of stemmed out of the joint work they did the last few years together. And I'm glad to see them continuing working together on this. So.
And that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Mary Lou.
I've been time traveling. I apologize. I was back several years ago thinking I was early for the 7 o'clock meeting. I don't know where my head was, so I apologize. I've been pretty busy with zoning. There's a lot of stuff going there, and maybe that was already reported. I'm not sure. And keeping up with changes in executive orders and COVID. But I don't have any big exciting things to report to any of you, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I gave a quick update on the restaurants and the governor's and how the liquor authority is working with for the interim. Kate, one thing I just got today from the governor's regional assistant, and I may have forwarded it to you, but this afternoon, I think I did. And Mary Lou, I sent to you.
Yeah, I have it.
It's an interim application that I believe the municipality has to fill out for these liquor licenses.
I think, Mike, I only read it very quickly, but I think that's only if we're going to let them serve on our property, like some,
I
like the
agree. That's
cities
what I think
and,
it said too, but I forwarded it to the two of you to take a peek
Yes.
at, since you're the ones who
yeah.
deal with
I don't
this.
think it's going to apply to us because I don't see us,
I don't
you
see
know,
them
serving
extending
on
out into,
209.
209, yeah, yeah, yeah.
but for villages and
Even
cities,
though it's
it's,
two properties away from Adams, it's,
Uh-huh.
so, okay. And Mary Lou, I think I forwarded on to you and all the board members a quick update. I don't want to go into specifics, but the unemployment claim that we were we were appealing, the first appeal is denied. We just got it today. I spoke with Mike Richardson. He thinks we can reappeal to the courts over this, and I think I'll have to schedule a private meeting with us and Mary Lou and Mike to discuss that. He has an attorney that he has worked with on a number of cases who has been very successful in winning these appeals, who is very reasonably priced, actually. And I'll have more conversation with Mary Lou about it, and then I'd like to bring it back to you guys to see if you want to pursue the appeal or if we want to just drop it going further.
you know what? I would suggest, just because that appeal will have time limits within which you can appeal. You know, using somebody else is fine, but at this point, I would recommend that you go ahead and vote to move forward with the appeal.
Okay,
And then if you use a labor attorney and the labor attorney recommends that you don't, you can always come back. But I don't want to miss a deadline because
okay. And
we haven't
under
made a decision.
the supervisor's authority, I can hire attorney.
You can hire an
without board
outside
approval,
attorney,
right?
yes,
So the
yes.
board can just vote to
To appeal, and then if you need an attorney other
commence
than
the
me,
appeal, and then I can deal with the details.
right?
My question is on this, if we do all these appeals, is the money spent gonna be weigh in with the money
We would have
regain?
to, at this point, we have not spent any money on the appeal because Mike Richardson met from his house to do the first appeal. So he did not charge us any additional monies because he's on our monthly
Right.
retainer.
Part of the retainer.
So at this point, we have $0 spent. Bear in mind, the settlement that we paid and the unemployment is neighboring $20,000. We would have to spend an awful lot of attorney time to get anywhere near that. So I think it is
that's-
worthwhile.
That's what I wanted to hear kind of in discussion wise, so that everyone knew
Yep,
what had gone on.
Yep.
That was all.
yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The exact number is between 18 and 19,000, I believe, that right now we
That's
are.
Plus
right.
the initial
That's
payout. That's
No, that
not
includes the
included.
that's
initial
including
payout.
it.
That
Oh,
includes the
okay.
initial payout,
That's including
which
it.
we're
Okay.
pursuing now that the courts are open again. Who knows when we'll get
Right.
on their agenda, but because everybody's
I
backed
just
up.
want to make sure we're not penny wise and pound foolish in the
Right, you
end.
don't want to spend
and-
$15,000 to save 13, right?
Yeah, and I'll come
Exactly.
back to you with more. We probably shouldn't discuss too much of the legal strategy in
Exactly.
open meetings, but I wanted to just bring you up to speed on it.
Do you want to make that motion now, Mike, or do you want to?
Sure. Does somebody want to make that motion authorizing the supervisor to commence the unemployment appeal?
I'll make the motion for the fact of getting it started here.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Mary Lou, I don't have to name the person in the
No.
motion, right? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, Kate, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilwoman Allen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hagen DePew,
Yes.
Councilman Hewitt,
Yes.
Councilman Paddock,
You're muted.
Muted, Adam.
Yes.
Supervisor Baden.
Yes. Okay, I will speak to Michael tomorrow and have him make the introduction to the gentleman and we will go from there. And Mary Lou, you and I, if you have time tomorrow, we can speak too.
Really good.
Okay, you probably know the person, Mary Lou. Mike said he works with him all the time, so. That's all I had for that. So now moving ahead, and of course I buried my agenda here in paperwork.
Highway Superintendent.
Thank you. Highway Superintendent. Jeffrey.
Yes,
Sir.
good evening. Good, how's everybody?
Probably a little tired.
Yeah, I am, yes, I am. We've been going along good, been very busy lately, many projects. The weather's been very cooperative, so we've been able to do some shared service work with Rosendale and Marbletown, and Marbletown spent the last 2 days doing some shared services with us, chip sealing, so I've got every road I wanted to get except for one that I have to do probably in July, but as far as mowing and other stuff like that, we've been clicking along just nicely, and like I said, been very busy, and everybody's been doing a great job. We're still keeping up with our COVID recommendations as far as keeping trucks cleaned and keeping the place cleaned, and we haven't forgotten about that. So we've been doing an excellent job with that also. So that's pretty much all I got.
And I just wanted to, and I should have done this in my supervisor's report, but I just want to take a second to thank Jeff and the Highway Department, Tom Crotty and Jared, especially Jared Gunberg, for and Kate and everybody else that was involved for the Memorial Day parade that we were able to pull off. Real quick background, and I apologize that I didn't get information out very quickly, but about a week before the Memorial Day, I was driving my car and I was thinking about the fire department doing these drive-by birthday celebrations. And I said to myself, why don't we do the same thing on Memorial Day? And I got in touch with Aaron Santillo, who is now, I don't know what position he holds. Kate, do you know what position he is?
I want to say he's a lieutenant, but
Yeah, and my apologies, I don't know his title, but he's with the fire district. He is one of the, he might be the assistant deputy or assistant chief, but I'm not sure what his title is. Anyway, he knocked it out of the park. He reached out to the other fire districts, fire companies. We had 18 fire vehicles show up. We had 5 EMS vehicles, Cohasset, Accord, and Ellenville. Gordy Bell called me Memorial Day morning, said, can we join in? Bell's joined in. Couple of private cars. Jeff got the highway guys. We've had in one large truck. We had a small dump truck, and we had the utility truck, which had Adam, Aaron, and myself, and Tracy, my girlfriend, on the back of the truck, and all of us masked, and it was fantastic, I have to say. And Kate and Ashley drove. Kate drove that truck, the utility, with Ashley in with her, and Jeff took part. And it was one of the most moving things, driving down the road and seeing these people. And everybody was social distancing. Everybody who wasn't was masked. People just came to the end of their driveways, to the front of their lawn. And it was, I can't describe the feeling of doing it. So I'm thinking about 4th of July, doing a similar thing. I'm working toward it. The county is actually, and I don't want to say too much because it is still very early coming together, is thinking about doing a county-wide kind of thing with every community who wants to, doing a parade simultaneously and broadcasting it somehow out through either YouTube or the county's website. But I probably should stop there because they're still working on whether it's going to happen or not. But either way, I think we should try to do something. So Jeff, thank you very much for the assistance. Thank you to to the employees for helping us out. And that was a great experience. So.
Oh, you well, it was absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed every minute of it. I know the guys did too, and it was our pleasure, and it'll be my pleasure to do it again July 4th if you decide to do so.
Yeah,
Let me know.
they're thinking of the 5th just to make it a little bit easier, doing it on the Sunday, and so we'll see. We'll see where it heads.
Fantastic.
But, yeah.
Yep, sounds good. We'll
Okay.
be ready. Yep.
Anything else, Jeff?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Constabulary report was emailed to all of you. I just want to find, I have my copy of it here. I think I do. Too many papers on my desk. I apologize. I don't know what I did with it. I will find it and give you a quick update on it. I actually have it on my computer, so let me just pull it up on my screen and I'll read it to you real quick.
I was gonna say, Mike, I have it if you want me to read it.
Okay, yeah, if you don't mind, Kate, thank you very much. I
Okay.
printed it, but I don't know what I did with it.
The court remains closed and the constabulary answered 13 direct calls for service and other duties in May of 2020. This included 11 neighbor-to-neighbor and quality of life complaints, 2 resident traffic complaints, Lower Granite Road and Van Tyne Road, 2 environmental complaints, Lower Granite Road and Queens Highway, 3 building department violations. There's no new court cases opened. There's 17 court proceedings that remain open and 0 court proceedings closed due to COVID-19 court closure, and the latest numbers are unavailable. Interesting occurrences. During this month, we received many calls regarding individuals in larger groups trespassing on resident property in many locations within the town. We're receiving many new as well as ongoing complaints from residents regarding garbage being dumped on their properties and at various places around the town, including local roads. We're still receiving calls from residents at various locations complaining in regards to groups of cars parked adjacent to or in front of their properties. These vehicles are blocking the road and the vehicles' occupants are walking in large groups without adhering to social distancing rules. Of particular note regarding this issue, several residents are complaining along Towpath Road, both at the ends and in the close proximity to the depot. Patrols along 4455 in the town continue adjacent to Minnewaska Park. During the time of this month, we were out, traffic flow was kept moving, and the road remained usable, without significant delays. A disabled motorist was assisted and able to be on their way. Several town residents stopped to thank us for our efforts. Some residents reported that a vehicle with a spotlight was driving slowly along a town road, shining a light into their windows. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we continue to have limited direct contact with complainants.
Thanks. And just to add to that, we have been putting 2 constables in 2 vehicles, independent vehicles at Minnewaska on Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And on some days, we have staffed a constable at the gate to assist in moving traffic. I will say we have gotten great response back from the park on this, great response back from the state police on this, great response back from the sheriffs on this. The park police are not able to be dedicated just to one park. They cover the entire region and they don't have the ability to put somebody there. The sheriffs and the state police are the same. The state police have been doing as much patrol as they can, but if they get another call, they have to leave. We are dedicating our 2 constables there. They are there for that 7-hour duration the entire time. What they do is they roll up when they find somebody parking illegally, they roll up behind them, they hit the lights, they inform them on the PA system they're parking illegally, and they move them. They're not having direct contact with any of the individuals. We are not ticketing. I will say I have been told of some complaints about this, both that we're not ticketing and also that we are spending the money from the town taxpayers. I will say this whole operation probably to this date has cost us less than $4,000 in a $600,000 tax assessment for the town. You can figure out the percentage of what that is. It's pennies on the dollar of everybody's tax bill. And I feel strongly that it is our job, it is our road, even though it may belong to the state DOT for maintenance. Our residents have to drive over that road. It could be one of our residents, it could be one of us who hits somebody, who injures somebody. And just like when I equated it to when the mountain was on fire, we didn't say it was a state problem, it was Minnewaska's problem. Our fire district and other people went up there and helped put the fire out. So that's what we're doing. And I'm disappointed in that some people are reacting the way they are, because I'm adamant and I will continue to do it as long as I check in with the park superintendent every week to make sure that they are still in need of it. And as long as their parking is reduced to the amount it is, they are in need of it, because they're at 60% because of construction, and then they're at half of that because of the COVID. So they're at 30% capacity. And you can imagine, all you have to do is look at the videos out there on Facebook about what happened in April with 2 miles of wall-to-wall traffic along the side of the road and people walking along the road, and we have eliminated that. So I apologize to get off my soapbox, but it's a little frustrating to me that some people are very upset about this patrol. So.
Well, my comment to that is you're never going to please everybody. And if you try, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Understood. I'm not upset by it. It's just disappointing to me that people don't see that it is, I believe it's worthwhile. And I think all of you do as well.
I believe so too. And I think the group that is pushing the negativity is the same group that's been pushing the negativity. If they want to continue to do that and they don't have anything better to do in their lives, that's a very sad thing for them, and shame on them.
And we have included at the last weekend, I have asked them to do an occasional drive-by along Deep Hole and Towpath. I will tell you, with the weather, I am getting probably 5 to 6 phone calls per day about this from people who live in that area, people who travel that road. People are parking in the no parking areas. People are parking in the fire lane area. And so
have we had any complaints from Trails End?
Yes, and I've added a resolution to deal with that tonight. When we get to the resolutions,
thank you.
I'm going to ask that we schedule a public hearing at our next meeting to include that in our no parking area. And I can go into that further, but
thank you.
Yesterday I received the first phone call about that. The person who lives at the end of the town road on Trails End, where it dumps into state land, sent me pictures of the parking in front of her house and in her driveway and blocking her driveway. And it's to the point that, and I spoke with Jeff, and he's in agreement that that road is so narrow to start with, making it a no parking area is probably a good idea. So
you'd never get a car in there if someone got hurt many years ago. Stanley Hudson and I went up in there and just to look, because there was an application before the board, and it was scary. I mean, you and I might campaigned up through there. We know it's narrow.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to move on to resolutions, unless anybody has any other things to bring up about liaison reports. So the first resolution is an action on the minutes. Town Board accepts the minutes of the May 7, 2020 regular meeting and May 14, 2020 special meeting. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
I do have one correction to add. In the sale of the highway equipment at auction, I believe the dozer is listed at 8,000. In the minutes, it was 8,200. So we can add accepting the minutes as amended. So Kate, would you do a roll call vote for that, please?
Councilman Allen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen DePew,
Yes.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, next, our budget modifications. If the board will allow me, I will put them up on the screen and go through them. I emailed them to you today. Apologies for the late notice on them, but with the month ending on Sunday, it makes our month ending a little harder to do because Shirley can't run the final report until it's actually the first day of the next month. So let me just put them up on the screen for you so I can explain them to you. It was very minimal. Are you seeing it or am I?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Not yet.
I wasn't sure if I was sharing screen yet. Still learning Zoom a little bit sometimes. Okay, let me make it a little bit bigger. So the the amended budget lines that I had to change, you see the changes we've made throughout the year. The orange column, the last column, is the ones that we've made changes to. We added $500 in the professional services budget line. That was to pay for the report for the constabulary that we had done. We increased our public notices advertising for the town board by $300. That's because we are now having to advertise every single meeting we hold because of the YouTube. Postage for the assessor increased another $200. I had increased it $400 last month. It wasn't quite enough to cover their costs, so I added another $200 this month. In buildings and grounds, we've added, and this was an error on my part. My thinking was that all our kerosene, diesel, gasoline would go under central garage, but there's some that are specifically earmarked for the building department. So that is essentially a correction. We've added $1,100 in that line for the year. Moving forward to the next page. I took, for this budget amendments, I took everything out of the contingency fund. So you'll see there's a $2,400 reduction there. We did not budget office supplies for the dog control officer. Normally she doesn't need very much. She needed about $30 worth of office supplies. I put $100 in her office supply account just in case she needs anything else the rest of the year. Office supplies for the highway superintendent, we had cut back to $200 for the year. They were in need of a few things, so I have upped it to $500 for the year. Public notices advertising for the zoning, same thing. There's longer notices, they're more detailed, so the costs are a little higher. So instead of $200, I've put $400 in there. And then we added $250 into rental and lease for the refuse and garbage. And we took the $250 for that out of the composting because you'll remember We went to the RRA's composting, which is a significant savings. We probably won't even spend $100 on composting this year by using them. We're spending about $5 to $10 a month, if that, in composting right now. So, that all reconciles back out to zero. So with that being said, I'd ask you for a motion to accept, let me get back to the motion, sorry. Oh, wrong one. I may have to reopen that file.
I'll make the motion on budget modifications.
Thank you, Chris. Sorry. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A roll call vote?
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Did you get that?
nope, but I,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, moving on then to the next page of resolutions. This is authorizing agreement for a technical review, Boyce Mill Bridge. I'll read the resolution. I'm sure you'll have some questions on it. So upon recommendation of the town supervisor and highway superintendent, town board authorizes the town supervisor to enter into an agreement with CT Mail Associates Engineering, Surveying, Architecture, Landscape Architecture, and Geology, DPC, to conduct a technical review of all available information about the project site to verify that the proposed project is eligible for Bridge New York funding in the next grant cycle 2020 to 2021, when announced by the DOT. Resource information may include but not be limited to the specific bridge BIN number, as-built drawings, existing base mapping, prior design and repair studies, recent DOT and/or local inspection reports and related correspondence, load ratings, and available maintenance records. CT Mail will evaluate the eligibility of the project or multiple bridges and/or culverts and help strategize the most competitive approach for Bridge New York funding, and will complete the technical review within 30 days of authorization at no cost to the town. So do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
Okay. Background on this, the Boyce Mill Bridge, as you know, is now yellow flagged and down to, what is it, Jeff? 9 tons?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So it's been reduced down to 9 tons, which means the highway truck, fire truck can't even drive over it right now. 2 years ago, we applied for a Bridge New York grant that we did ourselves. Barry Medenbach had been doing some of the engineering work for us, but was not interested in being involved with dealing with the grant. So Tony and I got some assistance from the county Department of Public Works, who gave me some cost analysis of similar bridges, and we applied and we were denied. I don't think we were denied just because our application maybe not have been as good. I think we were denied because there were an awful lot of people applying and not a lot of money. However, about maybe 3 weeks ago, I got kind of a generic email from CT Mail, who we work with. They are the engineering firm who monitor the closure of our former landfill. And so we're on their mailing list. I called and spoke with one of the principals, and I supplied you guys with their agreement. They're willing at this point to do it at no cost to us, to review and evaluate how we should best apply. And if we choose to move forward with an application, and that's a big if, and if the DOT even has this grant available, they say they will, but they have not advertised it yet, then we would pay them a cost of $3,100 to complete the grant application for us. But at this point, we are under no obligation to move forward with it in any way. So right now, you're just authorizing them to do some free work for us.
So
Jeff,
they
you wanna
might
add
would-
anything to that?
Yeah. Would they be doing this, just gathering this info? You said until this grant becomes available, then is the 3,100 in the scope of the grant? Would we be refunded their money as well?
No. The 3,100, you can't spend money before you get the grant. So any engineering money, any money you spend to prepare the grant is not refundable from the grant. However, this bridge, when we priced it out ourselves, we're looking at, it was well over $1 million and
Oh, I remember.
pushing close to $2 million. I think it can be done much cheaper than that. Obviously, when you do it through a grant, the price goes up. But I look at it right now is they're just going to look at the information we have. They're going to kind of strategize how to make this grant happen. These people do a lot of these, and they know the ins and outs of how to write one of these grants. They've had a lot of success in getting them. To me, if they do this and if the grant becomes available, we can then discuss the 3,100. But to me, it's a small investment to try to get back over $1 million. So
It's safe to assume that they're doing this for other bridges also.
correct. And they even offer in there, as you see in parentheses, I put where they said they would look at other, if we have other ones that we identify, they will look at them as well, also at no cost.
Right.
The cost only comes into play is if the grant becomes available and we say, yes, we'd like you to apply on our behalf.
And this quote is good until such time as that happens?
I believe that's what it was. I don't know that I have the printout right in front of me, but I believe yes. So basically, they're asking right now. So if we authorize them and I notify them tomorrow, we've authorized them, they will complete the technical review within 30 days. Then they'll stop working, and then if the grant becomes available later on in the summer or early fall, they would then contact us and say, hey, the grant is now available. Do you want us to, and that would involve much more technical review. That would involve them coming on site, doing a site inspection themselves. All that is included in the fee of $3,100.
So is there a historic nature to that bridge? It's old, isn't it?
It's the shortest distance between 2 points.
Yeah, there is not a historical nature to that bridge, that particular bridge. That was put in, Jeff, when was that bridge installed?
That bridge was replaced in 1990. It was,
Okay.
yeah, 1990 it was replaced.
And what we're seeing is the bridges that were built in the 90s, the Boodle Hole Bridge is another example of that. The steel is wearing away at a very higher rate than expected, and it seems to be all the steel from the 90s was not holding up well to the salt and corrosion, and it's all corroding. The Boodle Hole Bridge, I actually just stopped and viewed it today, and it should be open, I'd say, by the end of next week, is just based on their estimate. So anyway, as I said, this right now, to me, this is no cost at all. So I think we got nothing to lose by saying, go ahead. Any other thoughts on it? If not, I'll call the vote. Okay, Kate, you want to do a roll call vote?
Councilwoman Allen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, I will notify them tomorrow that we'll move forward with this agreement, and they will get those answers back to you. So Jeff, I'm going to pass on your contact info to them as well, but I already supplied them all the DOT inspection reports and everything. But if they have more questions, that way they can reach out to you.
Okay, yep.
Okay. Moving on, these two resolutions work together, but we'll take them separately. The first is an amendment to the wage and salary schedule. Town Board authorizes amendment to the wage and salary schedule as adopted pursuant to Resolution 15 of 2020, establishing a rate of pay of $12.50 per hour for town constable part-time Anthony Matola based on his completion of 520 hours of probationary employment effective June 1, 2020. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Okay, discussion, questions?
I just want to say he's entitled to this raise because he has completed
Right.
his hours required.
What we have done with our constables is we start them at a certain rate. I mean, they get cost of living raises each year, as do all the employees. But once they reach 520 hours worked, they move into this next level where they get at this moment, it's a 50-cent an hour raise. So he is entitled to it because he actually completed his 520 hours the end of April, I believe, and it was not caught until last month. And that's why we're doing the next resolution, which is to back pay him for the 92 hours of back pay that we owe him 50 cents an hour for. So on this first resolution, though, Kate, we do a roll call vote?
Councilwoman Anowen?
I had a question.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry. Yep.
I guess I just was wondering why, if he reached that in April, why are we saying effective June 1, which is retroactive?
Right. We're doing it as effective June 1 only because we've already paid him his May payroll and we hadn't met yet.
Okay,
So that was I put it in there effective June 1, just because that way his June payroll will be at $12.50. We've already paid him for the May work at $12 an hour because we had not approved this pay raise yet. So that's why I did it as of June 1, because prior to June 1, he was underpaid. So the next resolution, we're going to make up the difference.
right.
And we've
So,
done
yeah,
this a couple times before where it happens in mid-month when they hit the rate, and the board has to approve every pay rate change. So
Right. But
that's the reasoning.
He's due this because this is part of what we've established already.
This is our past practice. I mean, to say he's due it, there is no contract, this has been our past practice and what we've done with the other two constables who achieved the 520 hours. So he's the third one to do that.
Got it.
And what we do is we take them off the probationary status at that point. That's a standard for all our constables is 520 hours. Okay, so Kate, would you call the vote?
Councilwoman Anowen?
Aye.
Councilman Hagen Depew?
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt?
Aye.
Councilman Paddock?
Aye.
Supervisor Baden?
Aye. Okay, next, authorizing the supervisor to issue a retroactive payroll. They're authorizing the supervisor to issue retroactive payment to Anthony Matola, 50 cents per hour for all hours worked in excess of the 520 probationary period of employment.
I suggest that you add to that until May 31st, so you don't end up having to pay him
Thank you very much.
$13 for this week.
Thank you very much.
Do we need to have the first day that he worked 521 hours in there too, Mary Lou, or just the end date?
No, because it says in excess of.
Okay.
So in excess of 520 probation period of employment until May 31, 2020.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion
As Mary Lou amended.
as Mary Lou amended
right, okay. Yep.
to read May 31st, 2020.
Okay, and do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Anowen?
Aye.
Councilman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, next resolution. We've discussed this previously. I just wanted to do an official resolution so I can notify them. Town Board rejects the offers of cell tower lease extension and authorizes the supervisor to notify the Lyle Company lease consultant, authorized vendor of American Tower, of this decision. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions or discussion? Real quick, I did that spreadsheet and shared it with all of you. Although it's tempting to take money now, we would be selling the town down the road for future, I believe. The money that they're offering us wouldn't even pay us off through the end of the existing lease, which is another, I think, 15 years, or maybe more, maybe it's 17 more years. So I think it's in our best interest not to take this offer, and I will notify them, thank you very much, and see if they come back with another one, which is what happened last time. So any other questions or discussion? If not, roll call vote, Kate?
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next resolution is no longer necessary. Thank you to the governor. We don't have to lobby him anymore. He made it happen. Next, resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into an agreement. The town board accepts the proposal from Johnson Controls Fire Protection LP for the annual inspection and maintenance of portable fire extinguishers, and authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions? It's an annual contract. They come in, they review all our fire extinguishers. They repair any that are, or replace any that are, I'm sure at cost. I did not read all the print in the agreement. But it's a pretty reasonable cost considering we have a total of all our buildings and highway, I think 60 some fire extinguishers, and the price tag was less than $600 a year to do that. Less than $10 a fire extinguisher to inspect and certify them. So,
Just
roll
a,
call vote. I'm sorry, go
can I
ahead.
do just a quick question, Mike? Did we ever look at anyone else, or we've historically always used them?
I did not. This is the company that we have the contract with for the community center.
Okay,
But I'll be honest, I have to go back and look. I do not believe that this happens every year. I believe that there's a certain number of years for each fire extinguisher. I'm going to confirm that with Jerry. But this is only for a 1-year agreement. It can be extended, but this is just an annual for the one-time charge for them to come in. We are due for all of them to be done right now.
okay.
So I did not look elsewhere. They approached me with that cost, and we have an agreement with them already. So I left it at that.
That's fine.
I didn't search for
I
others.
do know of another place out of Middletown, but I don't know that they would be cheaper. That's
I did look online at the average cost, and I will say this was at the lower end. I saw, per fire extinguisher, and obviously that's looking at it like a nationwide, which I'm sure region to region is very different, but I saw some as much as $1,000, it probably would have been like $20, $25 an extinguisher.
yeah.
I saw a
Okay.
few a little bit less.
Thank you.
Roll call vote, please, Kate.
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next is the acceptance of donations, and I sent this to you as an ad. My apologies. The other one just came in this week, but I wanted to go ahead and accept it. So the town board authorizes the town supervisor to accept a donation of $250 from the Rondout Federation of Teachers and school-related professionals and a donation of $81.26 from St. Pauli's Textile, and directs the supervisor to deposit the funds in general fund account revenue line AA42705. Motion,
I'll make the motion to accept the donations.
second?
Second,
Okay. I just want to add, I'm very pleased to see that the teachers, they have made a donation to us in the past to pay for our assist with our summer program. And we've traditionally used that money to pay for the t-shirts for the participants. And it's very appreciated that they still saw the ability to give us some money. So it's I just want to say thank you to them for that.
Can that be encumbered for next year? Even though it's a tiny amount? So we know that we have it?
It's a revenue line in our revenue. I mean, if I guess we could choose to carry it over specifically at the end of the year in our budget to next year.
It would be, I don't know. I don't know how complicated it
I can
is.
look into how to do that. I'll be honest. It's any money you don't spend rolls over into fund balance.
Yeah, I know.
So, but let me find out. I'm sure it can be done.
The only reason I'm asking is because they were gracious enough to give it like they've always given it, and maybe we should, in turn, pay them the respect of holding on to it rather than it going into contingency or fund balance or wherever.
Okay.
Just a thought. If it's not, if it's too much paperwork, nah.
I
But
can certainly look into what it takes to do that. I'll speak to the accountants about how
Thanks.
to do that. Absolutely.
thanks.
Next, I'm
We
asking you to, did we do a vote on that?
no.
I'm sorry. Kate, please, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Anowen,
aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depew,
Hi.
Councilman Hewitt, I apologize.
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next, I'm asking the board to set a public hearing for local law number 3 of 2020, which is amending chapter 132, vehicles and traffic, Code of Town of Rochester, to be held at 6:30 PM on July 6, 2020. I'm listing it as at the Harold Lipton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, because by then we may be back able to meet, and request the town clerk post and advertise legal notice of such public hearing. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Accept the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Whoever. Give it to
Discussion.
Adam.
I sent you a copy of this local law. What it is amending chapter 132, section 2, which deals with our no parking areas. It would add, not towpath, I keep wanting to say towpath, Trails End Road. I'm only chuckling because I kept saying towpath all day to Kate every time I meant to say Trails End. From Diamond Road intersection to the terminus of towpath, say Trails End, sorry, to the terminus of Trails End, where it then empties into state land. The neighbor there called me yesterday and sent me cell phone photos that she took of in front of her house. And it was to the point that people parked on both sides, and it's been an ongoing thing. I don't deny it's probably a reaction to what's going on right now, but in talking to Jeff and looking at the road itself, it probably should be a no parking area anyway. It's a very, very, very narrow road. And even if one side was parked, I think it would eliminate passageway. At this point, we're just scheduling the public hearing. I would notify, my plan to, if we do move this forward, I'll notify the residents up there that we're holding this public hearing so they can make sure they come give us their opinion. But I will say many of them have signs up in their driveways that say, no turnaround, handwritten signs that they've written, because I have a feeling their driveways are constantly a turnaround. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Kate, you call the vote?
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Councilman Hewitt. I don't know why I'm skipping over you. I apologize. Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, that is the end of resolutions. Next, the summer recreation program. Adam, you already spoke to it. You want to sort of take the lead on this? I think you already said pretty well Ashley's feelings on it. But I don't know if you want to add anything more.
Just the fact that our recreation program is one of the shining jewels in the town of Rochester. We're disappointed, obviously, that we don't feel like it's the right thing to put it on, but for the safety of the community, the amount of time that it would take to put together, and the biggest thing that we run into, and this is really what Ashley made me aware of, is that this is not technically a camp. We operate as a program, and that program is only allowed to be on property a certain number of hours per week. So literally, we have to be off of there, with all these field trips. Where we normally go on the field trips, most of these places are either closed or severely restricted. So, I would agree with Ashley wholeheartedly. It's just not the right time. Aaron brought up a great point about a month ago, and it seems like Ashley, Rita, and Bethany are going to run hard with it, with approval, of course, to have a virtual summer program with everything from, videos on baking to other, summer activities that we can do at, virtually no cost. So that would be the update.
Right. And I will say that their hours that they continue to, their reduced hours that they continue to work each week, that's the plan for them to put these programs together. And potentially, as we do open back up, perhaps we could have a field day or something along those lines. I mean, we're just imagining right now because who knows? But I do know that even if we were allowed to open and again, it's not a camp, it's a program. If we were allowed to open, everybody would have to be masked the entire time that they were there. I just think it's the responsible thing, and I think a lot of parents probably would choose not to send their children to this program this year too. So it's a very sad thing to do. I feel really bad that we have to do it, but I think it's the only responsible decision. I did make a resolution for this, and I'll read this recommended resolution, and we can modify it as need be. The Town of Rochester Town Board cancels the Town of Rochester Summer Youth Recreation Program for July to August 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In its place, the Town Board and the Recreation Department will seek to find alternative, and I'm going to take out single day and just say alternative events, because we may do those online things. So we'll say alternative events, which can be held consistent with New York PAWS regulations and CDC guidelines. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I will.
Okay. Any other discussion? Anything anybody wants to add into that resolution?
Can you just say again why you recommend that? Because Wild Earth just announced yesterday they're having camp. Artifact is having camp. You just want to be safe?
Well, the biggest reason, Chris, is, as we said, we don't run an on-site camp. We're only on site 2 half days of the week. The 3 other days a week, we must leave. We are not a camp under New York State. We are a program.
I see. Okay.
And we have to go to field trips those 3 days a week. And I just don't think they're going to be open.
Yeah.
I think the majority of places that we go to are not going to exist. So really, that's the biggest reason.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What if it opened up pretty quickly and things cleared up? Is this something we can go back on? Or no?
We can always revisit it. We could at any time start a bridge program if we chose to. You know,
One of the things I actually feels very strongly about is that this takes up a significant amount of time, effort, and energy to put the program on, and they haven't even started yet. They don't
Yeah.
feel like if we opened it up tomorrow or on the 28th, they'd even have the time to put it together effectively and responsibly. So they're also talking about a time issue. They're also saying that like camps or similar programs in Marbletown, Schwanghoek, and Rosendale aren't opening.
Adam,
I believe Kingston also canceled theirs. So, Mary Lou, you were going to add something?
And also, even if by some wonderful happenstance everything opened, you still have to get the kids there. And I don't know that we'll be in a spot where we can socially distance if that's required on a bus.
Good point. That's a very good point. I hadn't even thought about that one. We'd have to rent 2 buses or 3 buses instead of
Mhm.
1, because they would have to be 6 feet apart on the bus, or they would have to be masked the entire time on the bus.
The other
Very
thing
good point.
too, just real quick, is that I know a lot of parents use the program as low cost daycare. It's one of the lowest cost programs. Mike, you brought that up many times in the past. Because the kids aren't going to school currently, you know, most parents, and I can't say the vast majority, but many, you know, have things in place, and everything from, you know, alternate work schedules to unfortunately things like family leave that they're currently using during the school year. I would assume that those would continue on throughout the summer.
And we can certainly help highlight any of these other camps that are opening to the parents and to the residents, and say, hey, we're not, but here's other options. We had a really good agreement with Wild Earth when they were right down the road from us. They're no longer there, I don't think, but we had a great agreement with them when they were picking up their campers here on site. So
how does the communications work with the summer rec program? Does the department have like phone numbers and email addresses of people?
yeah, Ashley has already, and I will tell you, she's informally reached out to some of the parents to sort of get their feelings on it, and she's been keeping me sort of informed that a large number, and I you know, I don't want to put a percentage, but a large number have indicated that they are in agreement with it not happening. They will get the word out. We will get it out in the newspaper. We definitely, you know, through Facebook, we definitely will get the word out.
Okay, and then if we were able to have,
Believe me,
virtual
if we were to do
programs-
something, we would have a line out the door of people to sign up, because
right. And
normally when Ashley starts taking people's money, we literally last year had people lining up 2 hours before, like a rock concert, to get in the door, to get on the list, because we have
Yeah.
a very limited number of people
Right.
we can service. So
But I just want to make sure too, that if we did, if they put the time and energy behind doing something that was virtual, that we'd be able to
absolutely, we'll
put
get
the
the
word
word out
about that
there.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
we haven't voted yet.
Yeah, roll call vote, please.
Are we done?
I just didn't hear the end of Aaron's sentence.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you say a full sentence, Aaron? I didn't hear the end.
I ended by saying I want to make sure that we'd be able to promote any virtual programs, and then there was a pause, and then I said we haven't voted yet.
Thank you.
We ready to vote?
Yes, thanks, Kate.
Councilwoman Howen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen DePew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
and Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, thank you for that. And again, it's disappointing that we have to do that, but I understand. Our next discussion was on the agenda as the Lucas Avenue condemnation. I will tell you, since the time I made the agenda, that the bank that owns that property contacted the code enforcement office and has pulled the demolition permit and was given that demolition permit yesterday. So they have 30 days to demolish the trailer on the property, which was condemned, and they indicated that they will be moving forward with that. With that being said, I emailed all of you today another notice from the code enforcement office, and admittedly it came very late because I got it this afternoon. Don't think we probably should take action on this because I'm sure you may have a lot of questions, but it probably should be either a conversation with the attorney or an executive session. Mary Lou, did you get a chance to look at what Becky sent? You're muted.
Sorry, my husband was singing in the kitchen.
There you go.
But anyway, yeah, I looked at it very, very briefly. I don't think you should take any action at this point. It's been over a year. I want to talk to the code enforcement office and see just where we are and just exactly what they want to do to abate.
Okay.
And
Oh yeah, I realized now. I missed that it was over a year. I saw 2019, but my brain
Yeah.
changed it to 2020. Yeah, so this
Yeah,
is
and
like a year and a half.
if I talk to Jerry and Becky and they say it just got so bad and that's why we need to do it, call a special meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, but at this
So we
point,
will-
I
we
don't
will
feel,
move
I
that.
don't have enough info.
Understood. Understood. Okay, next on the agenda is our discussion of a request for proposal for IT equipment and consultant. I emailed all this to you on, I think early Tuesday morning. I think it was.
A real quick question.
Yep.
Going back to the last item, I know someone whose house leaks and needs help, like putting a tarp to get it fixed. And when I mentioned that I'd seek help for her, she said, please don't spread the word. I don't want my house to be condemned. What if someone's been paying their mortgage, they own the house, and then it gets, what happens to their financial situation? Do they own the house? Does the bank give them money?
Can you say that again?
She owns the house. She's been paying her mortgage for decades, but it's majorly leaking and it's getting worse. She's worried about it. What would happen if it was done? Does she lose all of her money?
The last part cut out again. I'm sorry. What would happen if
It's condemned, does she lose all of her money and her home?
you know what? I don't know what her mortgage says. You know, if it's condemned, she may have a problem with her bank. If she still owes, she still owes. But it's her responsibility until the bank, unless and until the bank forecloses.
I also doubt that it would be condemned just on a leaking roof in that specific. I mean, I don't know the details, but you know, if you looked at the pictures of the one I sent you, this is not just one item. This is an unlivable home.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, and it's surrounded by garbage, and you know, it's an ongoing thing. I will say to get to condemnation takes a long while to get to that point, at least in our town.
Great.
I don't know if the person you're talking about is in our town, but it does take a while to get to that point. So,
Okay, I'll see how I can help. Thanks, Mary.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, okay, moving on to the IT equipment and consultant. We've been talking about this for quite some time, at least a year, if not more. You remember we got four actually informal quotes. We eliminated one from contention, but they were not a response to a request for proposal. They were a case where I reached out to various companies and 3 different vendors came here, looked at our situation, kind of gave us a ballpark quote, but it was not an apples to apples comparison. So we can't really review those 3 to pick and follow our procurement policy. So now that we have adopted the best value, which I felt was incredibly necessary in this process, because in this situation of an IT consultant, much like hiring any professional, the cheapest might not be the best. So I put together, based on a lot of different examples, I pulled together about 10 or 12 different examples from various sources from the internet, mostly from New York State, a few from other places, and put together this request for proposal that works on a percentage scale where different elements of the proposal from them would be scored up to a certain number of points, and the chart is in there. What then would happen is each of us as 5 board members would work independently and would score each proposal in that range of those numbers. Then a second score would be done based on the cost provided, which, as you see, it's calculated based on a percentage of the high score, and that comes up with another number. The two numbers are added together to create their number. It's the way that best value is done in this percentage like scale. So, because if you use best value, you have to say up front how you're going to review it. You can't decide after you get the proposals, oh, we think this one is better. There has to be an advertised criteria, and that's what I've done with this.
Like, I think this is great stuff, but I think that's the verbiage in that thing, everybody's going to have to get, pardon me, Mary Lou, an attorney to interpret it. Now, I do financial stuff and I get the percentages and things, but this whole thing has gotten so complicated. If I would have thought that best value was going to require us to do percentages and equations and all this other stuff, I would have never voted for best value, because what we've done is we've taken a really simple thing. We need 3 or 4 bids for something. You've already spelled out what products we're looking for. You've already spelled out how it needs to be done, what the building arrangement is. And then you've got all this rhetoric at the end with legal mumbo jumbo. All you're going to get for this bid, in my opinion, is a company that's worth $1 million that's going to charge us 50 grand. Somebody like, well, take a Reggie Salzberg. He can probably do the doggone equation better than I can for best value because he's a mathematic whiz. But somebody like, I can't think of the guy's name, Go Fast. He's going to read this and he's going to throw it away. It's going to take him longer to read this and try to unfold what we're looking for. And all we're going to get are these huge companies that are going to come in and say, yeah, okay, we'll do this for you for 50 grand. But then they're going to add on all these other things that they haven't put in. Well, we have to do this and we have to. I think we're looking at a number that's going to be too big. Can't we just do this a little more simply?
Problem B is we have to put out a proposal because the number at the end of the day for the year is going to be greater than the numbers in our procurement policy. So we have to put out.
I get that we have to put out a bid, but do we have, or a request for proposal? Not a bid. And then, okay, you're going to take the request for proposal and then are you going to bid it? Or this is going to be the bid?
This is the bid. The request for proposal is the bid.
Okay, why can't we just say it's a bid? Why can't we just cut to the chase?
Because it's the legal language of the way to do it.
I think you're going to need a lot of the same things in there, whether you term it a bid or whether you term it a request for proposal, because it's something that's not definite. We have to say, give whatever your proposal is. But even if you had a bid, you're going to have all this stuff in. This just gives you the opportunity. Maybe if a local person is a little more, you might be able to go with
this.
You're going to have the same information in either way.
I understand the information for the product and the project. That I understand. Okay. What I don't understand is all the other pages of stuff in there.
Can you
And-
give examples, B? Because it's 9 pages long, and
Sure I can.
one of the pages goes through all the details of the spaces. You know, what computers are there, how many are in each office. That's one of the 9 pages.
I know it is.
One page is the requirements with the date and time of when to bid.
All right, you've got your date and time. You've got your bid specs. I don't know what some of the other stuff is in there. When you go out to bid for item 4, you put down your screen size, you put down what you want, which is your specs, which is exactly what you've
Because
done.
item 4 is item
page-
4, B. It's
Okay, computers are computers. Aren't you going to at least allow these companies to choose their own?
Yes.
What
yes.
you've given them numbers. You've given them the numbers of each and where they have to go.
No, I haven't actually. I've given them the numbers of what we have right now.
Correct.
I want them to come in and tell us what needs to be replaced, what doesn't. I know we got that from the other guys. This consultant becomes our operator of the system for the rest of the,
Time for 2 years. For
yes,
2-year time.
2 years.
I get that.
This is the person we pick up the phone and call if we have a problem. This is
I know. I'm just afraid we are going to get some firm out there because of the legal jargon that's involved in this.
But I disagree that it's legal jargon. It says you have to have a non-collusion
Of course you do. That's one page of any.
It says you have to carry minimum liability insurance, which we have to carry.
It gives the scope of the work.
Yeah, it's 9 pages long. I mean, some of the examples I looked at, B, were 70 pages long.
I mean, if I could just say something, I think, I overall just coming in as a new board member when we were reviewing those IT proposals, and all of them were so different. And it was like, some of them came with equipment, some of them didn't. I feel like the heart of it is that the nature of the service will be ongoing support and coordination primarily with the town supervisor to ensure proper implementation of new technology, general management and operation, along with maintenance and or troubleshooting of existing systems. Any IT company is gonna know from that, get an idea of what they need to do. But all of the details that Mike put in here are things they're going to want to know in order to do to give us a proposal. Because
I put it up on the screen so we could walk through it if you'd like.
That's why you do a pre-bid meeting. You get anyone who's interested. You say, this is what we have. This is what we're going to do. And you get them all together and take them through it.
And right now we can't do that.
That's called a pre-bid meeting.
Right, but right now we can't do that. So that's why. Oh, wait a minute. I'm showing you the wrong.
You're showing us New Paltz.
New Paltz,
sorry.
Yeah. What I'm saying to you is we already have this information from 3 people. We agreed that the 4th person didn't quite grasp what we needed. You're saying that we can't take that information and make a sensible decision how to go forward? We have to go through this whole process again. By the time we get through this whole process again, they're going to have microwave 13.
No, B, if you look at the time frame, we're going to have proposals back by the end of the month.
And I predict that every proposal we get will be from some huge company. Nothing local to support the neighborhood or to support the area. And that's a very sad thing.
Yeah, but not necessarily, B. And I get what you're saying, but this isn't like buying item 4. This isn't like when
it was a poor example, but
no, but this is, you need an IT department, you need hardware, you need software, you need ongoing maintenance and support, you need 24-hour support, you need the upgrades that come down the line. This might not be something that a local tech company would be a good fit for. What if they go out of business? What if they shut down? What if they can't answer our questions or get to it in a timely process? Now, where we stand right now, as far as IT in the company, would be like asking Jeff to use a mule to haul equipment down the road. You know, like I
Nah,
said,
I don't think so. I think
I
that's
think
a
so.
bit of an exaggeration.
We right now we have 100 years worth of documents sitting in a barn that if it got caught on fire tonight would be completely wiped out. You know, we need to get a serious computer system up and running, and not 100 years from now. And again, it might not just be a
That's
local
exactly
guy.
what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
we've got all the information from these other 4 people. We have to go through this whole process again.
Actually, yes, we do, B,
But we're
because
not authorized to make a decision on any of those because we didn't, there's no way for those proposals are so different. We
Right.
can't.
It's not apples to apples.
I think what B is trying to say is we know what we want. So why wouldn't you use somebody like she said, Reggie Salzberg, who has been there before, and say, Reggie, this is what we want, and he would do it for a third of the price of what a company would do. That's the take I'm hearing out of B.
That's what I'm afraid is going to happen. We're going to take company XYZ that's been in business, and they're a huge company, and oh yeah, they can service our needs, and they'll get back to us.
so
But
let us put the quote out, the RFP, and see what we get back. Instead of
You can
predicting
always
what we're gonna
refuse
get
them
back.
all.
What's
I mean,
that?
I don't know Reggie Salzberg, but he can
You can bid on it?
do a proposal.
You bid it out like everybody else, you know. But when it comes to IT, rarely is the lowest price the best one.
oh, I don't disagree. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing in that level. What I'm looking at is when you put something like this out, I understand that we want the best of the best. But not always is a big company the best of the best.
No, but that's the beauty of the best value, and that's really the nice thing about. And I know it looks like an algorithm on paper, and I know it looks like we're doing chemistry here, but we're really not. Again, it's not the highest bid, it's not the lowest bid, it's the one that fits the needs in total the best. Let me just, if I could, Mike, if I could just give a real quick example. My brother-in-law works for Niagara Mohawk, and he creates the applications for running the electricity grid. And his company came to him and said, we want these certain laptops. And he did a cost benefit analysis that said, if you got those, just the time it takes for the computer to boot up is going to cost X amount of man hours. And that if we spent a little bit more money up front, we could save hundreds and thousands of man hours over time. Now, I'm not saying Niagara Mohawk and the town of Rochester are the same thing, but again,
I get you.
But we can't look at this and say, well, just because Reggie's a nice local man, he can do this. And you're absolutely right. We can't say because you're IBM or Dell, you're the best one. But this is exactly what this best value is set up for. And if honestly, if Reggie or any other small vendor can't do hit these checkpoints, they're probably not the right vendor for us.
And B, we're expanding. Right now, we have a bunch of standalone computers.
Oh, I
We have
know.
no
You
central
want it all
backup.
part of a thing. I understand
We
that.
want one network. We want to be able to share documents back and forth. Right now, and I'm just walking you through. So the first page is just a description of what we're asking for.
Right.
The second page is how they request the document, the proposal due date, the results, requests of questions and clarification. This is standard because right now we can't do a bid meeting.
I know that.
So they will all email to me their questions. I will compile them all and make a 1-page or 2-page document of this was the question, this is the answer. You then send it to every company bidding so they all get equal opportunity to know the answer to that question, not just the one who asked the question. That's standard in a bid process. So the timetable here, the RFP would be published on Monday. The questions and clarifications would be due 8 days later. It would be answered 3 days after this. The proposed deadline is the last day of the month. We take 2 weeks, review them. We come back with our answer approximately July 15th. We go to contract with them. We get the contract in place on or before August 1st, and it runs for 2 years.
And change that to 2022. You have it as terminating in 1 year.
2021. It would be
Change that to
2020.
2022.
Yep, I will fix that. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Yep, so, insurance, they have to carry the workers' comp and stuff because any vendor working for us, any vendor
I
has to
know
have that. If they get hurt on our property, and that's, unfortunately, that's where the little guys, I'm sorry, if they don't have the insurance, we can't run that liability risk. It's nice to take care of the little guy, but if the little guy doesn't have the insurance and gets hurt on our property, then we have a major deal.
All that depends on is how much bonding you have out there and how much coverage your bonding company will give you. That's where the bigger companies come into that.
Confidentiality, obviously, they're dealing with town information. Background information, telling them the 3 buildings that we want to do. The inventory by building. Now you're already up to 3 of the 10 pages. The existing conditions, and that existing conditions came out of all the reviews by those 3 companies where
I
they
know.
identified the weaknesses. Some of them are copied word for word.
I know.
The scope of the services, we're asking them to assess, review our inventory, give us an assessment by September 1st, so we can then budget for equipment that we need to purchase. We can probably purchase some of it this year. We probably have to budget for some of it next year. We may not be able to buy 14 or 15 new computers in 1 year. Remember too, many of our computers are running Windows 7 still.
I know that.
No longer,
You're no longer serviced.
Yeah. Basic services, we need somebody who can answer the phone 8 to 4 p.m. Pick up the phone and answer our questions. If they're asking for after hours, if there's an extra charge for that, we want to know. If it's we're asking for a flat rate monthly fee to be our service consultant and to do, to maintain our system. Desktop application support, they need to do support of each individual computer. We want to have Microsoft Office installed on every computer. We need that. Adobe Acrobat would have to be, the full copy would need to be on some computers, not all of them. Each department has some proprietary software. A server, which we do not have right now, would be maintained by them, and everybody's information would back up on a daily basis to the server. They need to tell us how to do that. They need to maintain the network. Security and backup. Security is a big thing. We have to follow New York State security requirements and guidelines. Planning for the future. These are just bullet points. I don't see it's a lot of mumbo jumbo. Other services that we want them to do. We want them to host our website or to tell us where we should host our website.
So you're saying that all these extra pages are part of your scope of work?
Correct. But they're not extra pages. That's 3 pages. And then the response requirements, what they have to tell us. And we want to know who they've worked with. We want references. We want to know other projects they've worked on. That's what we're asking for. That's part of our review. Qualification statement. They have to tell us who the people are that work for them. If it's one person, that's great. He has to tell us about one person. If it's more, we want to know who we're going to work with.
Why do we need to know their number of employees? What difference does that make to us? If they're a 50 or 100 employee group, why?
I just think it helps us know who we're dealing with. Remember, each of us is going to score this independently. You can score it however you want to score it.
Like, for example, B, if you would prefer to go with a small business over a larger one, that might factor into your scoring higher than.
Oh, I get all that. I understand all this, but you're giving them a scope of work and then you're telling them how to do their scope of work.
No, we're not.
No, you're asking how they're going to do
We're
the
asking
scope
them
of
to tell
work.
us how they're going to do it.
So you can then evaluate
Right.
what works best for the town.
Do they have to know the evaluation that it's best value? Do they have to know that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Like,
by law, if we use best value,
they
otherwise,
have to know, and they have to know how we're grading it.
otherwise, we have to
criteria
put
are.
out an RFP that specifically states exactly what we want. And I'll be honest, B, we don't know what we want.
I don't think we do either.
Right.
Exactly.
And we can continue to try to figure out what we want, but none of us know much about, I know a little bit about my computer. I know a little bit about systems. I don't know anything about networking. I don't know anything about servers. I don't
Well, of
believe any
course.
of us on the board
You
do.
know, I
Maybe-
understand all this. I just don't want some, I'm going to give because I can't tell you how I feel about it because
Well, I know you
it's
want a
coming
smaller
from my
company,
heart.
but
I can't project what I feel inside to a
Right.
piece of paper. I
But
can't.
we don't know who's going to respond to this. We could get big companies, we could get small companies. I'm hoping, I plan to notify the 3 companies that we did deal with and say, here's our new RFP. And much of this information is going to be the same as what they already gave us.
Yeah.
It's not going
I
to
was gonna
change.
say, it's
I'm
only
predicting.
it's only onerous
Go
the
ahead.
first time, because once you filled it out, like when I do a grant, I answer all these questions, but once I've done it once, it's a copy paste.
I know. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is maybe they do it this way. I don't know. I'm not in
But-
their office. I don't know.
But if you look at the 100 points, the way I broke it up, and this is based off of other examples with a slight modification.
My thing is a bigger company can tell us they are the greatest in the world and they can give us references. I'm sure this happens maybe with you, Adam, when you go to people's homes, they say, what do you base this on? They can tell us anything they want to
I
get.
plan to check those references personally. I plan to,
I want references. Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do too.
Yeah.
But where I'm coming from is qualifications and experience of proposed consulting team members. Well, Joe Schmo, he's the greatest. Okay. And then we have Sally Smith. She's good.
no, but B, it's not saying somebody's good or the greatest. It's saying so-and-so has this degree or this certification or this,
Or has worked for this many years in the
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
I'd say the other thing too is that this isn't just a requisition for a material or a service. This is almost like installing a whole different department into the town. It wouldn't be too different if we decided to start a water department. That we
I
need
get
to know who's running it, what equipment they're going to bring in, how they would do it different than somebody else, and it's a relationship too that we have to be comfortable with. I'll tell you from experience, there is nothing worse than an IT department that can't get out of their own way, that shut your entire operation down, or one that's not responsive, or one that that's laggy. And the same thing, we don't need the Ferrari of either.
You just
So again,
made the exact point for me, Adam. A person can have 29 degrees and be doing something for 1,000,000 years from a desk, as long as they're sending out the Joe Schmo and the Sally Smith, and they don't know jack about what they're doing. All they do is put good stuff down on paper.
so, but wouldn't you say that if we sent this to a bunch of really good people and then we got the information back and us 5, relatively intelligent people took a look at it, that we could come to a consensus and pick from that group who would be the best?
I mean,
I think so. I think so.
I'd ask, while we're on this page, do you want to make any changes to this point criteria? I tried to balance it out somewhat equal of,
What about 10% on price? I know I always am the one who's.
well, the price is the next
Oh.
part of it, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
So ultimately,
Yeah.
I think it's
Do
a
you
great.
think that because it is this kind of a company, we need to put more than the 10% in the evaluation that we take into effect from their references? Do you think we need to give a little more weight to their references?
I'd be willing to up that, but I'd want to know where we want to take it from.
Quality and comprehensiveness.
Yeah.
Of the proposal,
Yeah.
make that 20 and the references 15.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Adam?
Quality becomes 20.
quality and comprehensiveness.
Right, of the proposal, right.
Because if you're gonna check on their references, I hope we're not calling their cousin or their aunt who's running another business.
No, we asked for references of clients that have worked with them. That's what we're asking for. I mean, hopefully, anybody we're hiring has other clients.
If someone found their uncle, I would not want to hire them.
Yeah,
Well, that's my point, but on the other side of this, Aaron, I got a big family in this town. I could call one of them and say, you know, so-and-so's gonna call me. How about you give me a good reference? There's a lot of things that I look at a little differently because I don't have a degree in anything except life. How's that?
But it's gonna be more than just so-and-so's gonna call me, give me a good reference. I mean, we're asking them for
You're
references.
gonna look on Dun and Bradstreet?
No, but we're not talking about personal references. We're
No,
talking about
I'm saying
client
your
references.
business,
Yeah.
Dun and Bradstreet.
Yeah.
No, but wouldn't it be fair enough that I would assume that the company that we're going to hire has done a system like this that's very similar to this with other clients, and that
With
we'd be able
another
to call,
town, perhaps.
we'd be able to call the town of Olive Bridge and say, wow, they bid you out and put you down as a reference. How you guys making out with them? You know, that we wouldn't be calling somebody's,
That
We
wouldn't make
specifically
sense.
asked them for municipal references, if possible. you
Yes,
know. I would prefer,
think
obviously,
so.
somebody who deals with government.
Yes,
We're a different animal,
yes.
so.
And not in this reference also, what they have to know, Mike, from your office and from the accounting office is not everything is, according to the state comptroller from the accounting office, is open to councilwomen, councilmen, town clerk. There's many, many things that when they put in these systems, the state comptroller does not want every department to have access to.
No, we will be limiting, when everything goes into the server, we will be instructing them who has access to what files and all that, you know.
Exactly.
But it's a backup system, B, which we don't have right now.
No, I understand that.
And I'll be very honest, if the comptroller came in and they do these, we have been lucky that we haven't had one. They do IT reviews, and I'm certain we would fail. Matter of fact, I'm definitely certain we would fail. What that
I'm sure
means,
I'll
I
get
don't know.
quoted for that little move I just did, but that's okay. I hope they have fun with me.
Yeah. So,
Erin, did you get to make your point?
I think both Adam and I were trying to say if we stress that we would prefer if there are contacts from other municipalities or governments, those would be the ones.
That would be the relative information.
let me go back and see what I asked for.
Yeah, I was just trying to, I've read this 3 times, but I don't have it memorized yet.
I didn't see anything.
I don't either,
Consultant's
because
background.
I wrote it at
Scott.
2:30 in the morning.
Oh,
So.
you had the consultant's background there. And it's, I
Qualification
forget what it said.
statement.
Qualification,
Yeah,
background, whatever.
You say
Oh,
that.
and here's
Especially
the other key
municipal.
point. If they're going to subcontract out anything, we want to know that too.
The
Yeah.
next page, Mike, you do say it.
Right there.
Especially
Clients.
municipal clients.
Especially municipal clients. Yes.
So I'd like to recommend we move on and
Go
see how
ahead.
this matrix works. It looks very nice, and I like that we all get to rate it independently.
Okay.
Yep. And if we get less than 3, then we may evaluate using a different one, just because with only 3, it's hard to compare. But and
Okay.
I borrowed that from another one that put that out there just as a cover their butt, so they didn't have to then just re-advertise it and start over
Yeah,
again.
redo it.
So, okay.
Okay.
So Chris, was that you making a motion?
No, is this a motion to make?
Yeah, we have to make a motion to authorize me to release the RFP.
Then yes. I make the
With the amendment as to the references being the 15% and the
Date,
Yes,
the one date.
quality being 20%.
20%, and then the correction of the date.
Yes.
Can we make another edit? It's just like a
Yep.
language thing, but under the minimum qualifications, could we replace
What page, Aaron?
page 1?
Thank you.
Instead of saying we encourage all small and minority-owned firms, if we could say firms run by members of marginalized communities.
You have to,
We have to follow the
Do
state's language.
the way the state says it.
Oh, the
They don't
state
say,
says minority.
Yes.
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 Well, we should change that. Okay,
Those
got
two
it.
minorities.
Yeah, that's New York State's language.
That's an official designation. You can
You
can
could
get a
also ask-
designation as a women
It's own business.
or minority owned business. And
Right.
it's official certification that you get.
That's right.
Oh, I see.
How do we-
That's what it's called.
Name it there. Okay.
It's not our language, so we can't change it.
The minority in the US will be changing by 2030, so I think that
Agreed.
should change.
So by New York will have to change that eventually, but that is, what's it called, Mary Lou? WMB? I forgot what it is.
It's initial.
Yeah, I think it's WMBE, Women and
think it
Minority
is-
Business
It is
Enterprises.
WMBE.
Yeah. In some grants, you get extra points for that. And if it was a state-funded grant,
Yeah, it would automatically get extra.
they automatically get extra. And some require a percentage of your grant money go toward one of those businesses.
Which
They do
sometimes
it
is
as-
very hard because sometimes those businesses don't apply. I've
Yeah, they
worked
don't.
with grants
Well,
where
what-
it's like, we're trying to find somebody, but no one's interested.
What you often find is those businesses go out and subcontract to somebody mostly for name, and they do very little work. And I hate to be so blunt, but that's what happens is they contract with them for their name to get the grant, and then they end up not really working much on it. So, okay, did I have a second? Chris made the motion.
I'll
Oh,
second.
Aaron made that other change, so, or wanted that other change. So do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I think we've already discussed it. So Kate, you do the roll call?
Councilwoman Anowen,
I
Councilman Hagen DePew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Thank you very much. I'll make these changes and we'll get it out through Kate on Monday. And we will, Mary Lou, how do we have to advertise this? I mean, what's our best route for advertising this? We want to get it out where people see it the most. So, I mean, obviously the three companies that we liked who gave us information already, I'm going to make sure they get it, but
Right.
get it out to other people. What is our best route? This is new territory for us.
Yeah, I don't know if, sometimes with best practices, you'd put them in a trade publication or trade newsletter.
There
And
is
I
a
don't
state-
know if for this, if there's a like online.
I'll ask some other supervisors how they do it.
I know that for construction, there's a construction paper
Right.
that comes
Yeah,
out,
I know that's
construction
for
news.
construction. I don't know if there's anything for IT.
I don't know
Um,
if there is either.
I know New Paltz just put one out because I modeled some of this after their language. They did it last year. Or maybe I'll reach out to the village and ask the mayor how they advertise theirs. So, okay. Moving on to the next agenda item, constabulary report. We got the report back in March. We met with our attorney to discuss it. Is there anything more anybody wants to say? If not, I've made a proposed resolution of next steps. I'm willing to put that up, but if you want to say more about it, I'll defer the floor to whoever wants to speak.
I'd like to hear your resolution
Okay,
to see what it covers and then discuss it.
fair enough. Fair enough. Let me get it up on the screen. Okay, are you all seeing it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, and I wrote these words just this afternoon, so it was written quickly. So anybody wants to change anything, you want to go through the whole thing and then talk about it. So I'm saying, whereas Town of Rochester Town Board desires to simplify the policies and procedures manual of the Town of Rochester Constabulary. Whereas the Town of Rochester Constabulary was reinstituted with Resolution 90 of 2014. Whereas the town board members at that time included an active law enforcement professional and a retired law enforcement professional. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board commissioned a law enforcement consultant, Peter Volkman, MSW, to undertake an initial assessment report. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board seeks advisement of law enforcement professionals to review the Town of Rochester Constabulary Program. Whereas the Town of Rochester hereby creates an ad hoc committee composed of 2 community members who are retired law enforcement professionals to review the following information. The New York Criminal Procedures Law, Article 2, that is the section that deals with peace officers. Town of Rochester Police Constabulary Policy and Procedural Manual as adopted January 3rd, 2019. Resolution 30 of 2019, which was our reestablishment of the town constabulary. The March 2nd, 2020 Rochester Constable Police Initial Assessment Report by Peter Volkman, MSW, and any other information found by the committee to assist in their review. Whereas such written report shall specifically make recommendations to the town board on policies and procedures which should be modified, removed, or expanded, and to the recommendations of Peter Volkman. Whereas the town board will make all constables available to the committee for them to speak to. Therefore, the town board appoints Ronald Lapp and Gerald Fernino to serve on this ad hoc committee. Therefore, the charge to the committee is to review this information and to complete a written report to the town board on or before July 16, 2020.
I have this to say.
Yep.
Whereas the town board will make all constables available. Whereas the town board will ask that all constables make themselves available to this committee.
Okay, fair enough. How about request?
Requests.
We'll say request all constables
to be available.
to be available to this committee.
Yes.
How's
Perfect.
that?
That's perfect.
No problem. I like it much better than mine.
It's softer.
I just meant that we wouldn't say that they couldn't talk to them.
Exactly. But
That's what I meant.
I know what you meant.
But because I figure they may want to talk to some of the individual constables, not just the chief. So obviously the chief will have a lot of input, but they may want to talk to them, and I don't want to tell them how to do what they're offering.
Exactly.
So,
but that way we're asking them to be available as well.
Okay. We're kind of going at a little bit out of normal, but because this is a working resolution, I'm open to any other comments, conversation before we actually make the motion. So
Yeah.
Oh, I understand. Go ahead, Erin.
This resolution I think is fine. I have no issue with creating a small committee that will, with law enforcement background, to do the things that we've discussed. But I also feel that it's really important, especially upon, finally talking about this report in the public, that that we not have this be the only advice, the only action that we take on the report, because I think part of our job is to just, as board members, is to also review the program. And I think it would be great for us to have other voices from our community weighing in on some of the items. I don't have a copy of the resolution, but that the policies and procedures which should be modified, removed, or expanded, I think I would like for us to also plan on having like a panel discussion, a moderated panel discussion that I would be happy to organize that could, you know, bring in other voices from our from other realms that could talk about community policing, peace officers, the role in small towns, because as we all said, we don't have a lot of experience with this, and there's not a lot of other towns that have a program like ours. And I think that there are ways that we could use it and utilize it that we currently aren't. And there are things that we are using it for that maybe we shouldn't be. And I would love to open that up more to more voices.
So what you're saying to me, and what I just got from what you said, and if I'm wrong, I've been wrong before, is you're taking two men on a committee who have more years in service than you've been alive, not more than I've been alive, more time that most people on this board have been alive, and you still want to bring this to the public again.
I'd like to just echo.
Hold on, I don't know why you thought that's what I was saying at all. Because
okay, then explain it to me, because that's what I got.
All I'm saying is I'm saying yes, and I think yes, let's get this report, which is, as everyone has said, we're not going to just do whatever is done by the two residents in our town that we're asking to be on this committee. But I think it'd be great to have voices about community policing and constable police programs other than people with law enforcement backgrounds.
Can I add a couple of statements? I'd like to thank Erin for catching me up on that meeting. Sorry, I missed it. And I think it's amazing how we have a unique opportunity in our town right now as we're recognizing and mourning the murder of George Floyd. And for that, I would like to read a statement that I prepared. I was going to do it during board time, which is next, but I think it's more appropriate now. In these times of unrest, which I view as a great awakening, I would like to reaffirm my commitment to the town of Rochester and Ulster County to promote social and economic justice, recognize the value of all people, and provide exchange opportunities to create a just economy. I will continue to recognize and uplift all individuals, but specifically those most impacted by injustice and inequality. I believe that we are in a really unique position. We have what we call peace officers here, and what America needs right now is an example from a small town like ours of how we can actually adopt nonviolent principles and a true peace department. If we call them peace officers, then let's create a peace department. And here's our opportunity. So I would like to echo Erin's idea. I think that's wonderful to have a community forum where we invite members of our community like Tyrone Wilson, the Ulster County Commissioner of Human Rights, Lynn Archer, people who do trainings in nonviolence, like it used to be Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, but now there's other organizations that train true nonviolence, which is more powerful than violence. I think that Jerry and Ron are good choices to review the manual and give us feedback by mid-July, but we have to go much further in order to serve the needs of America right now. Thank you.
I agree that we have to serve the needs of America, but we are on this board also to serve the needs of this town. And I agree that peace officer is a great, great word. Peace being the key word in all that's going on in America. And they've been peace officers for as long as I remember the crossing guard when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. We've had constables since around 17, since the town was established. Their name hasn't changed any. They've always been peace officers. I think there's a contingent of people in this town who have made them less than peace officers. They've made them less than people. They've made them the scourge of the town, that they could do no good in this town, no matter how many people we had, no matter what the standard of those people are. It could be yourself, Chris, on being a constable. And right now, you would be dirt under this town-specific contingent, and you wouldn't be worth talcum powder in the wind. And I just don't want that to happen. I don't want to see these men, they've already been put down so many times. We're going to lose all of them. And they've done nothing wrong. We're like
Which men are you referring to, B?
the constables.
Okay, thank you.
If we keep putting them under the microscope, we have this report from Volkman. Volkman was to be the be all end all to this solution. His report was to help to be the solution to the problem with the constables. Now we're taking it. We've got 2 men going to do this work. We're going to make these men review this work, and you still want to put it to another panel?
Yes.
You just said the key word 4 times, B. Why
What's
are
that?
2 men reviewing all of our policies? What about women?
You want me to sit on the board? I mean, I don't care whether it's a man or a woman. People worry about color. I don't worry about sex. I don't worry about if I've asked someone to do something, just as this whole board did, I believe that they're the best 2 people to do the job. If you want to come up with 20 more people, we'll make it. We'll take another 6 years to decide what we do with the constables while we sit and they're sitting there twiddling their thumbs and they all go goodbye. And if that's what everyone on this board wants, then be with it. But we have asked Jerry and Ron to do this for us. Yes, they are only 2 people. But again, back to the fact that they have the experience. They've done it. I believe that they have a very good head on their shoulders and they will do what's best.
No one is denying that. No, I have great respect. I don't know Ron Lapp personally. I have great respect for Jerry. I completely support getting their feedback. I am, as a representative of this town, committed to diversity and diverse voices. I don't want to be making decisions behind closed doors. I want this process to be open. There might be
behind closed doors. Publish the report that they give us.
I'm still speaking. There might be a group of people that you are talking about. There are also lots of people that would love to see changes in our constabulary program that aren't necessarily making a big noise, that I think would appreciate seeing a well-rounded, multiple viewpoints going into our discussions and our decisions. And I don't think it should take 6 years. I think it should happen as soon as we can. I really like the July 16th timeline in the resolution that Supervisor Baden came up with. I think we should be thinking of doing something sooner, because I think we need to take action. We sat on this report for a few months, and I think that we need to be taking action as a board. And for me, what that means is not just listening to the voices of law enforcement to advise us on how to serve our community. I think our community has other voices we could listen to, including those. But
Erin, who would you listen to better to be told about farming? Would you listen to an industrial engineer, or would you listen better to a master gardener?
But we're not talking about my job as a farmer.
I'm trying to make a comparison.
But we're town board members and we represent the entire community.
Exactly.
We are not representing the constables right now, where we are in the position to work on the program, to work on the department, and that is what was recommended that we do.
So
in the report.
So if I can say something, and I've been quiet and I appreciate all you guys have to say, but what we're asking these 2 gentlemen to do is to review an existing policy and procedures manual that I think we all can agree is from a much larger police force. It's way above and beyond what the town of Rochester needs. We could have sat there and hacked it apart by ourselves. You know, I came up with this idea of bringing these 2 gentlemen in and reached out to them based on their knowledge of administrative police procedures. Both of them were in administration. They were not just law enforcement officers. They were in administration in very high levels of career, and I think that they can bring a lot to it. My goal of their report is not to give us the final, what they hand us is the answer. When they hand this to us, it's up to us to roll up our sleeves and take it the next step. The problem was the report that we got from Mr. Volkman, while very detailed and thorough, asked a lot of questions about what does the board want. And my feeling was for us to sit there and go through a discussion about what we wanted over all those items that he listed where there were questions would take a very long time. And I'm not trying to shortcut it, but I think the police professionals can answer some of those questions for us about what should a town our size have versus what a town our size shouldn't have. I think Aaron's suggestion is a great idea in addition to their report, that we can hear from the people. What do you want the constables to be? I think that's a great idea. It means we take in the information. It doesn't mean that they're dictating what it is.
Exactly.
It's a listening session for us to hear. And you know, I think it's valuable because we may hear back that, okay, we think it's a valuable program. I will defend this program, you know, constantly. It's the reason I'll be honest, a year ago, I have considered making a resolution to just end it and just go to court officers. But I believe strongly that the program has merit, has value. When I get the 5 phone calls a day about the towpath parking, I can guarantee you the state police and the sheriff are not going to go to towpath and tell people to move their cars. It's
Nobody
not gonna
believes
happen.
that though, Mike. Nobody believes
Well,
that.
but you
That's
know what?
bothers me.
I can't worry about what other people believe and don't believe. I can just continue to give them the information. It's the reason I made that statement that I made earlier about the Minnewaska. I defend that patrol and I will stand by that patrol, and it is working. I go up there every weekend and observe how it's working. So, I mean, there's a lot of good. Are there things that we're doing that we shouldn't be doing or that we don't need to be doing? Probably. Do we need a manual that deals with things like kidnapping and robbery investigations? Probably not. So this is a chance to hone it down so we get what we want this group of people to be. I have a lot of respect for the men that are doing this. I wish we had some women constables. I've been talking to one in particular, one woman who has a police background, and I wish she would apply, and she keeps thinking about it. And I don't know if she's watching right now, but I wish she would, because I would love if we had, you know, I've talked to some of the constables about putting them on bicycles and letting them patrol the rail trail. There's a lot we can do with this group of people. And
I think what's interesting is Ron's name and Jerry's name is in your resolution. Can we leave it more open in case someone else wanted to join before July? I like your proposal.
Well, I think we have to start, and I'll be honest, Chris, their names came out of the meeting we had with Mary Lou.
Yeah.
And I have reached out to both of them and they agreed.
Great.
I don't want to name names. Jerry suggested a third person who I reached out to, who considered it for a day and then got back to me and said was not interested.
Mhm.
If we want to add, I think we need to add now. And I apologize that this is kind of sprung on, but I think they need to get to work right away in order to get it back to us, because I think we're floundering with this, and I want to just move it forward. And I agree with B. It's time to move on and establish what we are and what we're doing and what we're not doing, and move forward with this. In that sense. That's not to say it can't be, you know, tailored further down the road. I'm open to suggestions. I mean, Mary Lou, you could tell us if we can add names later or not. I don't know.
You
If
can.
you're
I
gonna
don't know how
have-
much time you have to do that. You know,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
have to add them
I'd
at a
want to be fair
meeting.
to them as well. I mean, it's because they're the ones doing this report. I will tell you that they have spoken to each other. When I spoke to them, over the weekend and early this week, they both indicated that they were going to talk to each other. They both, I will tell you, they both, when I asked if they would be interested in this, they both said emphatically yes, very quickly. There was not a lot of hesitation on either part. And
Great. I wasn't suggesting another name to hold this up. I was just
Yeah.
bringing it up to.
Yeah. I just think that adding somebody in the middle, I think if we're going to add somebody, they got to be added from the beginning.
Sure. Aaron, I would be interested in helping you organize a listening forum.
I think that would be great, and I think we would want to come to our next meeting with a resolution for the board. I really don't think this should be the only action we take. That's just my position. I feel very strongly that this be one thing that we do as a step towards really analyzing, and as this board, this new amazing board that we have, addressing the recommendations of the assessment report, and also the voices from our community, our entire community. And that includes people with law enforcement backgrounds.
Aaron,
And it includes people who don't have law enforcement backgrounds. So
I have a suggestion to put this whole thing to bed. Mike, let's get a referendum together and put it on the ballot for November and vote whether we're going to have a constabulary or not.
I don't think that's what anyone is saying.
That doesn't
I
help us,
just
though.
did. I
But B,
did. Because
that
enough
doesn't-
is enough. Every time we get to a point where we're coming close to a closure or close to something, somebody else has a better idea.
But B,
They're all brought together at a lawyer's meeting, and yet nobody says anything. Oh, it's a good idea to do this. It's a good idea to do that. Now that we've got it set up and these guys have been asked to do it, now you want to add names. You don't want to take this report they're going to give us and put any stock in it. You want to add another layer, which isn't always a bad thing, but I think enough layers. I think enough time. We sat on this report from Volkman for almost 6 months. 6 months.
no, we
And
got
now-
it in
No,
March,
got it in
B.
March.
March, April,
March.
May, June. We had it before March. It was out there before March. I know it was.
It was not in
We asked
final
for
form,
him to
B.
do it last year with the old board. I don't know where it was, but I know it was in this town.
He
And
was-
so my thing is, bring it to a close. Mike, set it up, see how much a referendum's gonna cost us, and be done.
B, a referendum is just saying whether we have one or not. Doesn't
That's
solve the
exactly
problem of what it
correct.
does.
That's exactly correct. And there's enough BS out there.
But B,
Going
it
back
doesn't
and
achieve,
forth.
it doesn't achieve anything. It doesn't say what they're going to do.
It says either the public wants one or they don't want one. If they don't want one, then it stops, doesn't it?
Okay, but okay, so let me ask this question. The referendum comes out, they want one. We're right back to where we are right now. We
That's
don't
right.
know what it is they're doing.
That's right. And then you start over again because at least the public has spoken and you don't have all this crap going on behind the scenes
Well,
and
B,
everybody's second guessing. Are these guys doing what's right today? Oh,
You
we
know, I
have
would
to
like
watch
say
them.
something. B, I have a lot of respect for you and I respect your opinion. And when you tell me what you think, I listen. Me suggesting that we have an additional voice is not crap. And it's
No,
not
I didn't say it was crap.
And
I
I
said
brought
it was
it up.
another layer.
I've brought it up in the past. I think it's a good idea. I would like to work on it. I also think it's a good idea to turn this report over to Jerry Fernino and Ron Lapp. I can
Oh,
say,
yeah, I do too.
I can say both of those things. They can both be true at one time, and I can consider multiple perspectives. That is my job. And that is what I'm suggesting that we do.
As it is mine. And I'm saying to you, let the people say what they want to do and then no one can argue with us.
we can do both. We could still do a referendum in Mary Lou can tell me what we would need to do a referendum.
I think it's time, Mike. I think it's time. If this doesn't, you know.
But B,
I
Well,
have
I'm
to
trying
look to see if it's an item that would be subject to,
Okay.
could be subject to.
So-
referendum.
I think it
really
is.
do
Police
not
forces
know.
are, so
it's not
I
a
would
police
think
force,
this
it's
is,
a peace
I
force.
know, it's a peace
Yeah.
force. Believe me, I know that above all else.
But it's actually not a peace force, and that's why we need the opinion of the public and professionals like the Commissioner of Human Rights,
It
so that we
is a
can
peace
address real
force.
issues that are happening and not just say what you just suggested, be to have a referendum shows you're not listening to what everyone
I am listening, Chris, and I have been listening. All this time we've been saying this is not a police force, and you just repeat back to me, this isn't a peace force. What kind of a force is it?
When you have a gun on your hip, that is not a peaceful thing to have.
Well, it's defined as a peace officer in New York State law. I think that's what the difference is. I understand what you're saying, Chris.
Chris, there are requirements in the court officer's position that they have the weapons. We can't rewrite the rules of New York State. So remember, these people also are court officers. Unless you want to separate out court officers to a separate job like they used to be, and we can do that, and we can have town employees who are only court officers, and we can have town employees who are only peace officers, and we can separate the two. But the gun is a tool of their job, whether we like it or not. It's a tool of their job. So they just like, Jeff's guys have to have a CDL license. They are required by the rules of New York State. If we're gonna have that, and we have to have a court, so we have to have court officers. So there's some things that while I understand we may not want them, but it's the rules of the way life is right now. So,
Mike, if I could, only because I do want to be heard on this issue, even if just briefly. In my opinion, we have two different problems running concurrently. One is we have a policy and procedure problem. And again, we have a police manual for a constabulary. And again, the report from Volkman, our two professional law enforcement and our very diligent board will help whittle down what the responsibilities of the constabulary will do in very short order in the next couple of months. But we also have an optics, a relationship, and a social problem, and I think that's more what Aaron's speaking to. And again, our local residents they want to be heard. They don't like what's going on right now. That is a different issue, and something like a town hall meeting, or Aaron, exactly what you and Chris are talking about, I think is long overdue. The last thing I would say is that, just like Mike said, I'm in big proponent of our constables. I think for what we ask them to do, they do a great job. And whether that's traffic patrol, court duties, making sure that our buses are safe and there's not speeders, they do a very good job. We just need to whittle it down a little bit. I couldn't imagine not having these guys, but at the same time, it's not set up correctly. It's just not. And again, it's our duty and responsibility as a board to make it right. And I think between the five of us, with professional support and the community support, we'll get it done. We'll get it done right. So that's all I wanted to say, Mike.
Thank you. Okay. I think we've all been heard on this. I think we've gone way beyond above and beyond what the resolution is.
Can I say something quick?
Yep.
I lost connection for several minutes, so I didn't get caught back up until the end.
Yep.
I'm probably the only person at this meeting who's been here since the very beginning of the constabulary program. It started out very small, and it was not many people knew about it because they were not patrolling. They were not He was teaching courses and bringing in revenue, and that's what Supervisor Chipman enjoyed seeing. I do think the program snowballed a little bit, and they put policies in place without really knowing what we wanted in a program. I think this program needs to be town related to town issues. It shouldn't be as broad as a police department is. And I think that's very important if you want to keep this in a positive way for our town.
Thank you, Kate. And I'll get you a copy of the audio portion of the meeting, so you'll be able to get the minutes. But
I put the time on there, so I'll know when to look. But I lost internet, and
I saw you lost internet, and then I let you back in. I think you lost it in and out a couple times. So,
I did.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay.
Thank you for what you said. I appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
so with all that being said, is the board somebody want to make a motion on the, actually, I'm going to make a motion on this resolution. Would somebody second it, please?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion before the vote? Okay. Kate, would you call the vote, please?
Councilwoman Allen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, thank you all. And I realize that, you know, there's 5 of us and we all have different opinions, and I appreciate that we're able to express them. So thank you. In light of the time, I'm going to push the e-bike and e-scooter thing, which is not time sensitive, down the list. Just take a look at the stuff I sent you that's in reaction to a new state law that the governor passed with the budget in April regarding them, where municipalities have the ability to address them. I sent you that paper that outlines 4 different possibilities of how a municipality can react in terms of legislation. I did have conversation with Steve Rice, who is head of the County Trails Commission, who from our town and has been involved with our town for a long time with trails and bicycling. And his feeling is the e-bikes that are assist to pedals are not a big deal, but the general consensus of the experts that I've talked about with say that miles per hour is maybe the way to look at this. So take a look at it, see if you can formulate some questions. It was more just a discussion thing because it showed up in my email box this week, and I said, well, let's talk about it and see where we think we should go. The broadband service, you saw the letter from Zolly. That's DeWitt Road. There are a number of other areas, Cherrytown Road, another number of other areas, Millhook Road, that there are, you know, few hundred feet, a quarter mile, a half mile of coverage empty from either side. Now that we have discovered the $105,000 that was set aside for cable improvements, which was put in the grant fund, which did not stand out to me as what it was for until I started asking questions. It's now been moved to the Capital Projects Fund. I think we should continue to honor that it was put in there for cable improvements, although Mary Lou, you'll have to tell me, the best I can tell, only 35,000 was put in there properly. The other 70 was not done by resolution or anything. So you'll have to look and tell me if we need to redo anything. I think we should look at helping some of these people who don't have cable coverage. They come back with prices of $10,000 or $20,000 to get coverage to 4 or 5 houses. Maybe if we approach Spectrum, we might get, you know, in bulk, we might get a little cheaper price. I don't know. We've tried to put pressure on them since a long time, and unfortunately, we have at least 4, if not 5 years left in our contract with them. So I don't see we're going to get a lot of help from them with volunteering to put in miles on their own. So my thought is that we try to investigate where we can do the best good with that $105,000. And that's going to take a lot of legwork and a lot of elbow grease and figure out where we get the most bang for the buck. But it's something I think we need to look into. So I'll leave it at that. I don't, unless anybody else has anything quick they want to say about it. But I know Warsing has done it for a while, and they increase miles with their cable franchise money. So.
Mhm. Well, I know it does sound like a lot of work, Mike, and if there's anything I can do to help, I think it's really important. And I would be happy to put in some time.
Well, I know Lynn was doing a lot of work on it, and I'll be honest, I have not had much conversation with her about it recently. So we did do that survey where and I do have the results of that survey, but that was a pretty unscientific survey.
Right.
I do have the mapping that I was allowed to view. Under proprietary agreements, they can't give me a copy of the map of the coverage of the town of Rochester. So Larry DeWitt was very involved, and back in Wayne Kelder's days, the highway department assisted us and literally drove every mile of town road and wrote down where they saw the wires, because when you look at the telephone lines and the electric lines, it's the third line, it's the lowest one. If you see a line there, that's cable. And there's places on the map that say it's not there and it is there. There's other places on the map that says it is there and it's not there. So it's a struggle to try to figure out where we really need it. And that's
And
a big part of the
and if
problem.
we're prioritizing, like in Zolle's letter, I think it was 9 households or something.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if we're able to prioritize and find those areas where we would have a big impact.
right. I can tell you the upper Sampsonville Road areas, a lot of those up there are really challenged. And there is a possibility, as I think I said last month, of doing some wireless broadband up there through the City Hall Road cell tower. If we could do what Wawarsing is doing, although Wawarsing apparently ran into a problem that municipalities can't do what the county can do. They were trying to model after what Sullivan County was doing. And I don't know, Mary Lou, if you know anything more about it, but I know I read in the newspaper they hit some legality hiccups at the things that they wouldn't be allowed to do by law. So,
Mike, I have a question. Is there still a contract or some kind of an agreement with
We have a
Spectrum
franchise
for the
agreement
town?
that is-
Franchise agreement?
yep, it is a 10, but bear in mind, the franchise agreement is for cable TV. And that is what the law states. It's for cable
That's
TV.
it. Yep.
They treat broadband as an accessory that they can
Yeah.
also offer. We all know that now people want more broadband than they want cable TV. They're not so worried about
Mhm.
cable TV, but they want broadband.
Well, my
But
question was going to be, what's the access per mile now? Back in the day, it was 25 homes per mile. I understand
Yeah,
that
it
was
used
for
to
cable.
be,
It's different in
Yeah, it
every
was for
contract,
cable.
and I'd have to look at our contract.
well, it used to be 30 that the state required. I'm not sure. I haven't looked in a few years.
Yeah,
And Spectrum, or Time Warner before them,
Yeah,
actually used 20, even though they could have used 30. They were using 20. What they're using now, I
but
don't.
it was up to the town, and many, many millions of years ago when I served on a franchise committee.
it's spelled out
It
in
was
our contract.
25, I think. Yeah, it's spelled out somewhere how many. So
Yeah.
the area with the most people might, like Aaron said, might gain
Right.
us the most
Right.
bang for our
And it
buck.
might be the cheapest too, because if they can cover more people, they're gonna get more revenue, so they probably will charge us less to do that area. Whereas if they're going to run it to 2 homes, they
Right.
might up the price because they're not gonna get the revenue from it.
I mean, 9 houses is closer to whatever their limit is or whatever
Absolutely,
they've agreed to.
absolutely. And they are required in the contract to do so many miles during the frame of the contract.
Yeah.
The problem
Correct.
is,
They are.
they don't know what they've done, and they don't really want to tell us what they've done, which is twofold. The guy I was dealing with was a little more open, but that was 2 years ago, and he's.
Why is it a secret?
I was going to
Right.
say, it's in the contract. The number of miles should not be a secret if they've
They-
contracted with us
they
to do
fall-
that.
Well, like you always say, the courts are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I guess we could take them
Mhm.
to court over the contract, but they won't tell us where they did. I'll be honest, I'm not sure they know where they've done.
Maybe they don't, since when they took over from Time Warner or whenever they took over.
Well, yeah.
Here's just a quick thought. Maybe we're overthinking this with other accesses that some people are taking advantage of, or some people simply don't want it. Why don't we put out a I don't know, an advertisement to the Rochester residents saying who would like to be considered for it. Because if there's a big pocket where there's a high population but nobody wants it, needs it, or can use it, then why are we chasing our tail? But if there's a population that says, hey, there's 25 of us up here would love it, and it's easy to get to, let's sell it.
That's kind of what we did with the survey, Adam, but we
did
didn't.
it, yeah.
We didn't get. We got a nominal response, and I'll be happy to share the results of that survey with you. I mean, we have it down to the address of who responded back, so. We could try again. It's actually still available on our website, but
And maybe that's the starting point.
Yeah.
So,
Because if, you know, again, you know, if there's a large population, but a small vocal, you know, number of people that are looking for it, maybe we should service the ones that are asking for it, you know, and direct the dollars that way, you know?
well, that's what we have to do. We have to find out who wants it, where they are, and then put them together in groups. And then we have to look at where the coverage is now. Because one thing I learned about this is just because you're the next house on a line doesn't mean it's going to be, many people say, oh, it's so easy. I'm one more house away. But the signal strength and the
Okay.
ability to carry ends at that house right before. So to go that one more house, they have to put an extremely, you know, I'm simplifying it, but extremely large booster. They may have to rerun lines. So it's not as simple as we all want it to be, unfortunately. If
Yeah.
only it was just numbers.
Yeah. And
yeah,
certainly I didn't know all about that.
yeah. Believe me, I didn't know all this either until 2 years ago when I sat down with the guy from Spectrum, and then I actually did some research and found out he wasn't totally lying. You know, so
And no way we could tie it into the census, right? We're out there anyway.
I don't think this federal government's going to go for that one. Add one more question to the census, huh?
Do you have cable?
Yeah.
And do you want it? A and
Do
B.
you want it? Okay. So anybody from the board have anything they want to bring up tonight?
I have one thing.
Yes.
I was wondering if we could maybe start having our workshop meetings again. They've been canceled and I feel like we have just something to think about. I feel like we get a lot and they feel like a place where we can do more of this kind of discussion work. So
Okay.
just some,
How about when we get a week away, well, actually we'll have to like 10 days away. We'll see where we stand at the end of this month.
okay,
Also see if we can physically meet together. Part of the reason I've been
yeah,
doing it is it's difficult. While I remember, if all the board members, I will have a voucher that I would like to pay before the end of June that needs to be audited. It's not one I can authorize. So when I get it ready, it's from the grant fund. It's paying the contractor who was doing the work on the annex. I would like to pay him and not make him wait till the end of the month for the work that he has done up to now. I will have Shirley prepare that voucher and let you guys know. I'm happy to drive it around to each of your homes. I don't expect you to come down here to sign one piece of paper, but just let you know that we might be doing that. And I don't know if there's any reason to schedule a special meeting at this point. Mary Lou's going to look into with the code enforcement officer on that one condemnation, and if we have to have one,
Right, and see if
I'll
it's
call
a
one.
huge emergency, right?
Okay. If there's nothing more, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn, and I'd like to adjourn in memory of all the people suffering from COVID-19. I'd also like to adjourn in memory from all the people who are suffering across the country from other issues, especially the Floyd family, and also in memory of Ron Santosky, a longtime town board member who passed away since our last meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
I
everyone.
appreciate all your time. We'll see you all soon.
Thank
All right.
you.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, babe.